How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
is the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? Oh, I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final fight. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent $200.
Literally.
So
Not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because
Yeah.
I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is that
problem.
what you call reporting?
Go
and live
under, if
streaming?
you're going to do it,
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah,
But
please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
And I've learned a lot from Karlyn Borysenko, who goes in undercover with the left. And I've figured out from looking at her work, like when I first saw her stuff, I was like, oh, she knows what she's talking about. I need to like connect with her. And she actually, the first time I got assaulted in 2025, followed me and sent me messages. And she checked on me for months, just privately. It was so nice to have somebody like, are you okay? But I could tell she knew what she was talking about, and I subscribe to her. I look at all her stuff. I've learned so much, and I thought I knew a lot. I've learned so much.
I watch these streams, and I've been watching a self-professed fascist named Karlyn who drinks and basically roasts these live streams. But weirdly, she has apparently embedded herself with Antifa before. And so it's such a funny stream because like...
So they tolerate her?
Oh, no, not anymore. She like... No. She's like... I mean, I don't know if she's trolling or not, but on her stream, she's like, I am a fascist.
Right.
So she's proudly proclaiming she's a fascist. I don't know how much of that is trolling, how much of it is real, but conservatives who are drawn to her stream will say things like, these people are funded by George Soros. And it's the funniest thing because she gets so mad. And she's like, get off fucking Fox News. Stop watching that shit. It's all wrong. Do these people look funded? Do these people look like they have money? They're not funded. It's so, and I guess her bigger point is by saying these are funded agitators and not saying what they actually are, which is anti-capitalist revolutionaries, you dilute what's really happening. Because what's really happening, according to her, and I think a fair amount of people, is that the economy is so fucked. The middle class is diminishing so much. The cost of living is so high that this is the perfect soil you need if you wanted communism to grow anywhere.
What's up, everyone? What's up? Hey, I am so sorry to be late, but this time it really wasn't my fault, okay? I know I say that every time I'm late. A wizard arrives precisely when they mean to, by the way. A wizard is never really late. A wizard arrives precisely when they mean to. But it's not my fault. It really isn't my fault this time. You want to know why? Because I just got back from Maine. Because fun fact, I don't live that far away from Maine. I live about an hour away from the Maine border. I live about an hour and a half away from Portland, Maine. I don't live that far away from Maine. And as it happens, and I swear this is just a coincidence. This is really just a coincidence. I had a meeting, not with Tucker. No, I did not meet with Tucker. No. I had a very, very, very important meeting scheduled for this morning in Maine. And so I was going to drive to Maine anyway this morning. And then literally I'm driving and it was not with Tucker Carlson. It was with someone that's way better and understands way more about the left than Tucker Carlson does. And it's not going to be like an interview or anything like that. It's just this was a super secret private meeting, which is why I'm going to be vague about what it was, because we're going to see what materializes out of it. But literally, I was going to Maine anyway this morning, and then I'm on my way to Maine, and the person I'm meeting in Maine for lunch texts me, and he's like, oh, look, there's been an ICE shooting 20 minutes south of where I am. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. So I'm literally driving to Maine. And the news of the ICE shooting, if you guys didn't hear about it, there was someone killed today in Maine because, again, we had another instance where the anti-ICE protesters were trying to hit people with cars, and then, oh, wait, one of them died. And so I literally just happened to be on my way to Maine as this stuff was popping off. And I still went and had my fucking meeting. Listen, meetings stop for no one. I went and had my meeting, and we had a lobster roll and stuff like that. So I did get to eat lobster in Maine, so that was pretty rad. But then, I mean, like, listen, there's all sorts of shit popping off in Maine. They were protesting Susan Collins' office, who's the senator from Maine. The leftists are getting organized. They're starting to create chaos. And so who knows? It looks like the leftists in Maine are actually more organized right now than the leftists in Texas were. So that is where I was, and I was kind of seeing, I was having my meeting, and then I was also we were looking around for like what was going on the ground while we were there and stuff like that. Yep. And I fully think that there's going to be more stuff there tomorrow. The thing about Maine is that Maine is not one of those places where like you can just get on public transportation and go places. Like Maine is a big ass state where people have to drive to get places if they don't already live there. So it's one of those things where it's like, there wasn't a ton of stuff going on today. There was certainly some stuff. I'm not saying there wasn't any stuff, but like I actually expect that like we may see more stuff popping off later this week. Especially keep in mind, Boston is not that far away from Maine either. So if the PSL starts organizing, the PSL specifically, because the PSL was there in Maine, the DSA is already organizing in Maine. if the PSL and the DSA and some of these other leftist groups in Boston like start coordinating with people, which I don't think is out of the realm of possibility, it's an hour drive maximum from Boston to where these people are in Maine. So, but like, that's not something you can coordinate at the drop of a hat, right? Like, people do actually have to work. They need cars and stuff like that. They need to coordinate how they're doing transportation. So I fully expect that we're going to see stuff happening in Maine over the next couple of days. And I want to tell people this because I may go back tomorrow. Like, I may go back. I've already heard that there might be something in the morning. I might make the sacrifice to drag my ass out of bed early 2 days in a row. Do you guys know I had to get up at 8 a.m. today? Do you guys know how painful that was for me? I had to get up at 8 a.m. Do you guys know how much that cramps my style? Did I go in disguise? No, I didn't. No, I didn't go in disguise. No, I didn't go in disguise at all. No, probably should have, but I didn't. And because again, like, I wasn't, my original reason to go to Maine was not to actually do the anti-ICE protesting stuff, because when I was on my way there, the shooting hadn't happened yet. And so, like, I literally found out about this stuff as I was on my way to Maine. I was like, well, I'm not in disguise at all in any way, but you know what? That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. So, you know, we got to see what's going on in Maine. I am not opposed to going back up to Maine to see what's going on. Because again, it's really not that far away from me. It takes me hour and a half tops to drive out there. And so didn't I tell you though? Didn't I tell you that something was going to happen? Didn't I? You were the one that was upset about it. And I was like, if you recall, Master Shake, if you recall, let's make sure we're being accurate here. You were the one that was like, nothing's even happening. And what I said to you was, wait, just wait. It's going to pop off. It is inevitable that it pops off. It's just a matter of where, when, how is it going to pop off? But it was inevitable that it was going to pop off at some point. And so maybe this will be a thing that pops it off. I don't know. So this week might be a little weird. Because now I have this anti-ICE stuff happening right in my backyard that I wasn't planning for. So maybe I'll be putting a lot of miles on my brand new car, driving back and forth to Maine to see what's going on. We're gonna have to see what happens. But I may go back out tomorrow morning. And guys, if you see anything, if you see anyone talking about organizing in Maine, please let me know. DM me on Twitter. Let me know in the chat, whatever you want to do. And so, because I will be looking for that stuff, but obviously it's been quite a busy day for me. Because I had to drive out there. I had to go have my meeting. We wandered around looking for like the anti-ICE stuff and stuff like that. And then I had to come back to stream with you guys. Yeah, and I do want to speed in my new car. Yeah. That's actually very true as well. I do want to speed in my new car, which I did copiously today. I'll tell you that. Yeah, we got to find the signal groups. We got to do all that. So everyone has your mission. Go find out what's happening in Maine and tell me, and we'll keep an eye on it. And again, it is something that I can go out there for, to cover, to see what's going on, to get footage for myself. So we're going to have to see. Hey, before we get into the stream today, which is going to be good, you guys want to see my new sunglasses? Do you guys want to see my new sunglasses as people are filing in? Because I have 2 new pairs of sunglasses that got delivered while I was in Maine that I haven't even opened yet. I have no idea what these look like. And you might say, Karlyn, you need more sunglasses like you need a hole in the head. And yeah, I mean, that's true. I have like 37 fucking pairs of sunglasses. But these are really cool Rockstar sunglasses. No, they're not a mystery box. These are Christian Ross sunglasses. And Christian Ross is like it's just like this iconic fucking like eyewear designer where like these are Rockstar sunglasses. These are things that you would see like Lenny Kravitz wearing or Kurt Cobain or stuff like that. So I've got 2 new pairs of sunglasses I haven't even tried yet. So I want to try them right now. Oh my God, look at this. Oh, yo, look at that. How cool do I look? How cool do I look? How cool do I look? This is a pair of darker ones, but it's got this cool kind of like wood-like finish. Love those. Those are awesome. But the other ones might be even better because the other ones are purple. The other ones are purple. I couldn't resist. You guys know purple is my favorite color. So I had to get the purple pair of sunglasses. I had to get the purple pair of sunglasses. We know it's bad if Karlyn needs to keep an emergency disguise in the car. Yeah, that's actually probably not the worst idea you've ever had, Master Shake. I probably should actually keep an emergency disguise in my car, given that, listen, man, I didn't expect this shit to be popping off in Maine. Maine was the last place I expected this shit to be popping off. And how funny is it? This is the universe winking at us. How funny is it that I literally just happened to be on my way to fucking Maine when all of this stuff started popping off? Like, what are the odds of that? But let's do our due diligence first and look at the purple sunglasses. Come on. Yo. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Yup. Check them out. Purple sunglasses. Best color ever. Okay. Total sunglass victory. We got a couple super chats that have come in. Nurtu, thank you so much for the super chat. It can be true that Lindsey Graham was a genocidal Zionist and all death is sad. I don't think the death of Lindsey Graham is sad. So we can agree to disagree on that. I personally think that the world is a much safer and better place without Lindsey Graham in it. So we can agree to disagree. The people I've seen mocking and celebrating his death come off as people with no humanity. Well, then I have no humanity, and that's fine, because Lindsey Graham has caused so much death and so much suffering with his commitment to warmongering that I don't really give a fuck if he died. I don't care. I think the world is a safer place. I think the world is a better place. You're allowed to disagree with me on that. You're allowed to have a difference of opinion, but I do appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Greetings from Frankfurt. You're in Frankfurt, bro. There's Frankfurt First Queer, or Frankfurt is Queer. Banner hung across the street from me above the main city square. Love the sunglasses. Hey, thanks so much, Dragon Tail. Really appreciate the update and appreciate the super chat. Good to see ya. Yeah, I mean, Lindsey Graham was obviously and clearly gay. Why did you make me watch the Whatever podcast? Because Trendlin made me, Dragon Tail. Trendlin bribed me. She paid a fee of $250, which is enough for 50 channel memberships. And I said I would do it, and I did. All right? I said I would do it, and I did. And, it's over. It's over. So we will be keeping an eye on what is going on in Maine. Hey, I just want to remind everyone, we do have a channel membership goal today because it is a class day on the channel. Because guess what, guys? Guess what? Your humble narrator has found a newly published, literally just hours ago, 4 hours ago to be exact. There is a newly published interview with 2 of the Antifa members that were arrested in Minneapolis. And these are different Antifa members than the interview that we watched last week. And this was published by a guy that does a lot of leftist videography. You want to know how this video got recommended to me? Because does anyone recognize the name Andy Thayer? I know he's only got 148 YouTube subscribers, but there is a very specific reason that Andy Thayer is in my algorithm on YouTube, and I'm glad it worked out this way. because this is the person who filmed the Chicago Trans Liberation Rally last year. Not the Chicago Trans Liberation March that I went undercover at this year, a couple weeks ago, but the one from last year. So this is the random YouTube guy that films all this far left stuff in the greater Chicagoland area. And so I was actually really overjoyed to see this interview pop up out of nowhere with two members of the so-called Minnesota 15 that were arrested in Minneapolis, the same people that Antifa has crowdfunded almost $400,000 for. $365,000 raised from over 3,600 individual donors for an average gift of $100. And no one in conservative media has reported that literal Antifa has raised almost $400,000 on a crowdfunding website where they have over 3,600 individual contributors. Karlyn, why won't conservative media report on this? Doesn't it seem important that Antifa, literal Antifa, a supposed domestic terrorist organization, according to the Trump administration and the conservative right, isn't it important that they crowdfunded almost $400,000 for the 15 people arrested in Minneapolis? And I would say, yeah, I would think that would be important. But the thing of it is conservative media is committed to their narrative above all other things. And if they tell their audience that literal Antifa has crowdfunded almost $400,000 with an average donation amount of about $100, that is going to completely disrupt the bullshit narrative that these people are funded by George Soros and Neville Roysingham and the CCP or NGOs or nonprofits or whatever bullshit conservative media is shilling today. So there is a very, 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 very good reason why conservative media is not informing their audience of this, because it disrupts the bullshit narrative that they've been shilling to their audience. And if they're lying about this, then how many other things are they lying about? If they're lying about how Antifa is funded, then how many other things are they lying about? So, I don't care, however, about the conservative bullshit narrative. The only thing I care about is primary source evidence from the far left. That's it. I care about primary source evidence about what the left is doing on the ground on any given day. I care about watching their trainings. I care about watching their interviews. I care about reading their propaganda. By the way, I picked up a bunch of leftist propaganda in a leftist, it wasn't really a bookstore. It was more like a music store that had zines and books in it. But like there were Antifa stickers all over this store. There was all sorts of anti-capitalist stuff. I got some, they did have some zines that I picked up. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet and stuff like that. So yeah. Oh my God. Oh Jesus. The crying about the DSA. Can we talk about this for a moment? Can we just talk about this for a moment? The crying about the fucking DSA. Has everyone seen this photo? Guys, do you know that at far left events, it was not Boxcar Books, it was something else, Reagan. Do you guys know at far left events, they're still wearing masks? Oh! Did you guys know that at leftist events, they're still requiring people or strongly recommending that they wear masks? Well, of course you guys knew that, Because people who watch this channel, we literally see this all the fucking time. It's like, this is one of those things where it's like, it is an inflection point where we start to realize how far ahead of the conservative media we really are. One in the chat, if you are shocked and amazed to learn that at far left events, they wear masks. 2 in the chat, if this is not new information and we've known this literally for years. 1 in the chat, if you were shocked, I say, to discover that people wear masks at leftist events. 2 in the chat, if this was not new information at all. In fact, this information is so fucking boring and so mundane that we are actually sick of talking about it. And every time someone new comes in, and if you're new, this is no shade on you because people are new and they don't know this stuff. Like, every time someone comes in, they're like, why are they still wearing masks? It's like, we go, Pop quiz for the chat. Pop quiz for the chat. Why do leftists wear masks at their events? Let's see if my chat is smarter than all conservative media, all conservative pundits, all conservative commentators, most conservative audiences, except people who listen to me. Why do the left still wear masks at their events, guys? Let us know. We got Dr. Raleigh Fox in there with our first channel memberships of the day. W's to you, my friend. Thank you so much for donating 5 channel memberships. Yup. No, it is not because they are afraid of being identified. Gregory, this is what we call a conservative retard answer. Gregory, I need you to use common sense for about 5 seconds, okay? I know that might be a lot. You post a lot of retard things in the chat. So this might be too much for you, Gregory, but we're going to give it a try. If you're going to an event with a whole bunch of people that you know, are you wearing a mask to cover up your identity? Keep in mind, guys, this is a meeting of people that all know each other. Are you wearing a mask to a meeting with your friends to cover up your identity? No, it's not about covering up their identity. That is not why they are wearing masks. They are wearing masks because of something called, I saw a whole bunch of people, community care. They believe COVID is still a real pandemic. They are protecting the community by wearing masks. They are protecting the immunocompromised by wearing masks because healthcare is not free for everyone and not everyone has the same access to healthcare. It is a community care initiative. It is because of community care we keep us safe. Community care, no, has nothing to do with suicidal empathy. That's another conservative retard answer. We don't like conservative retard answers here. This is about community care. Has nothing to do with empathy. Conservative retard answer. You need to unlearn that shit. It is community care. That is what they are doing. They still believe COVID is a real thing. It is about community care. It is about protecting the community, protecting the immunocompromised, the comrades without healthcare. W's to you, Jenny. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership, my dear. Appreciate that very much. Now, if they were at an event like a protest or a rally where they are out in public, the community care thing does still apply. But if they are at an event where they are in public, they would also potentially recommend masks to protect their identity. But that rule does not go for their meetings and their private events. Because again, remember, they all know each other. This is their social community. If you go to a meeting, if you go to a GOP meeting where, by the way, you guys want to laugh at the left for wearing masks. Do you guys know that that's a fuck ton of people in a room talking about doing political activism? There is no GOP meeting in the country that has this many people at it. The right wants to own the libs for wearing masks, which they've been doing this entire fucking time. The right wants to pretend this is new information and they want to own the libs for wearing masks. Hey, guess what, guys? Guess what? Even with the masking requirement or the masking recommendation, because it doesn't look like they required it because a bunch of people weren't wearing masks, but they do recommend it. They still got way more people to show up at their DSA organizing meeting than I bet you conservatives and GOP members have at their meetings. I bet you if we went to a GOP meeting in this area, there would be less than a dozen people there. But they own the libs on Twitter, guys. They own the libs on Twitter. And that really and truly seems to be all that matters to the right. And this is why the left is winning. And this is why the left will continue to win, regardless of the outcomes of any elections. It actually doesn't matter. Elections are not part of their organizing strategy. This is why the left is winning and the right is losing. Because even if they look ridiculous to you, they're still out there doing stuff in the real world. They're still out there doing things in the real world. They are organizing in the real world. One of the things I was doing today in Maine was wandering around looking for the leftist organizing spots. I was looking for the far left space, and I found a bunch of them, and I wasn't even trying that hard. That's what I was doing in Maine today. And then all the ICE stuff popped off while I happened to be there. W's to you, Deets. Really appreciate the 5 gifted channel memberships. You rock. You rock. The right believes that posting memes on Twitter and owning the libs is going to win the war, and they are wrong. Because while the right is memeing on Twitter and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they're wearing masks. Ha, 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 ha. The left is out there meeting in the real world, congregating in the real world, organizing in the real world. I mean, again, guys, I wasn't in Maine. I was in Maine for a couple hours today. I saw all sorts of like Antifa stickers. I was walking by so many leftist businesses that had all of the anti-ICE organizing stuff in the windows. I got a bunch of pictures of things, and I wasn't even there for that long, and I did no preparation to go because that wasn't actually the original reason I was going. I was going to have a meeting, but like just off the cuff in Maine, I saw so much leftist stuff without even trying that hard because they are out there in the real world. By the way, I got the names of 2 different Antifa distros while I was there just by looking at the stuff they're posting in the real world. Antifa distros, DISTRO, short for distribution. Anytime you see the word distro, that is something you want to write down, because one of the things I'm trying to do is track all the distros, because this is literally about producing and distributing Antifa propaganda. Anytime you find a distro, you have found Antifa, because that is what they call their propaganda distribution apparatus, which they do, again, unlike the right, the left does that in the real world. Yep, Steve-O is correct about this. The right honestly thinks that we are in a meme war because the right has not moved on from 2016. They think that out-meming the left on Twitter, which, by the way, the left doesn't even really use Twitter anymore. It's the right that's obsessed with Twitter. The left is way more active on Instagram. The left is way more active on even Facebook than they are on Twitter. By the way, can I tell you guys, just as an aside, apparently I just keep going viral on Facebook, and apparently now I'm earning more money by going viral on Facebook and having conservatives be really mad at me than I am on Twitter. And the reason conservatives are mad at me is I'm posting these videos explaining things about the left and how and the right's fecklessness and combating them. And then conservatives get pissed off because I call them lazy and stupid, essentially. And then they start reading in my comments. And apparently, and I just like found this out by accident last night, apparently conservatives whining in my comments and continuing to make me go viral on Facebook has earned me a bunch of money. And I was like, thanks, boomers. Okay. Apparently I just have to make more videos and put them on Instagram, and which automatically uploads them to my Facebook. Apparently now I have over 53,000 followers on my Facebook page. I never even tried to grow my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/decode the left, by the way, if you happen to be on that cursed platform. Don't read the comments if you go to my Facebook page, though. I promise you, don't read the comments because it's bad. It's bad. But they're earning me money, and that's good. More money for me equals more luxury purses, and that's good. That's good. Well, liberal hive mind completely incorrectly analyzed that and then misinformed his audience. So I'm not going to give liberal hive mind points for posting for correctly crediting me. I am in fact going to give liberal hive mind demerits because the analysis on that video was like so shitty that it's like people actually came away less informed than more informed. So that was an L, but like whatever. The right also thinks all Democrats are Islam. You know what? This is actually one of the things I was talking about today in the meeting I had is like the left doesn't care about Islam. The left doesn't care about Jews. The left cares about private property ownership, and that is it. Yes, I am looking forward to that, but we may need to postpone that if I'm going to Maine tomorrow, and I'm going to have to tell you guys about that. But like maybe not to. I don't know, maybe not to. But I am looking forward to talking to Larry. But maybe we're gonna have to postpone it. But maybe not. I need to evaluate the situation in Maine, okay? Because I might be going back to Maine tomorrow. Because if shit's popping off, I want to be on the ground for it. And it's nothing to do with Larry. And I know I put you guys off so much. I do want to go back on that show. I promise. But we're gonna work it out. I promise you. We're gonna work it out. We're gonna have a great conversation with Larry Sharp. It might be tomorrow. I might have to reach out to you guys and say we might need to postpone this because shit's popping off in Maine and I want to be there to see it. But we're going to have to see, okay? I haven't made any decisions about that. As of right now, it's still on. Everything's okay. And so we're going to have to see. Yo, old sub! Plague Doctors in the chat for old sub, please. Gifting 20 channel memberships. Massive W's to you, my friend. Really appreciate that. And then I see we have Malcolm in as well. Let me just update the channel member goal there. There we go. We also have Malcolm in with 10 gifted channel memberships. W's to you, my friend. Thank you so much for your ongoing generous support, Malcolm. Appreciate you very much. Great Otis! Yo, the thunder of the Keno Casino streams. Yo, I need the Keno Casino to drag Tim Pool and Chrissy Mayer for whatever they're going to be doing today on that show. Can you believe that Tim Pool is taking Chrissy Mayer's side? What a fucking bonehead. What a bonehead. W's to you, my friend. Thank you so much for those 20 gifted channel memberships in memory of... I don't know how to pronounce that. In memory of Senator Graham. I don't know what that means. What does that mean? Dr. Raleigh Fox, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, bro. Let's get this in here. We are into 61% of our goal. Holy shit. Guys, on days where I do have a class where we talk about far left things, we do have a channel membership goal. This is how I stay independently funded because I am pretty much the only person covering the far left in America that is completely independently funded by you. I do not take money from political organizations to shill a narrative. I have no masters. I have no one telling me what to say. I am not on the left, obviously, although this seems to be confusing to conservatives more often than not. But I'm certainly not a Republican, and I'm not in the GOP. I'm much further to the right than anyone who votes for Donald Trump. I promise you. I am a fucking fascist that wants to round up the left and put them in fucking concentration camps and deport all illegals with no due process. Like that's the level that we're talking about here. So I am completely independently funded by you. You might not agree with the fascism bit, and everyone has to come to their own conclusions about that. But I think what we can agree on is I believe that the far left is an existential threat to this country. I think things are going to get worse before they get better. And I think we have less than 2 years to get the right to remove their heads from their own asses and to start engaging with what the far left is actually doing in the real world. Why do you say 2 years, Karlyn? What's going to happen in 2 years? Because on May 1st, 2028, there is going to be a mass general strike coordinated among all of the labor unions that is going to shut down the entire economy for an extended period of time. Karlyn, how do you know that? Because the left has already been organizing this for over a year. It is not going to be a one-day mass general strike. The left has already been organizing for over a year to build up the capacity to bring all of the labor unions together at the same time in order to have everyone go on strike at the same time with the explicit goal of shutting down the economy for an extended period of time. This is going to happen, guys. How long are they going to shut down the economy? That all depends on what they're able to accomplish in the next 2 years. It could be for a week. It could be for a month. It could be all fucking summer. Because they are right now building the organizing apparatuses, the mutual aid networks, the signal groups. All of these different protests and rallies that they're doing are structure tests to see how many people they can get to do stuff. And so come May 1st, 2028, it all depends on what they are able to do for the next 2 years to build up to that, and how much can we prevent them from doing in that time period. And I promise you guys, if the right doesn't start hinging into reality with what is going on, we are going to have a prolonged mass general strike leading up to the 2028 presidential election, and I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's going to be massively impactful. I think almost no one on the right sees this coming because I'm one of the very few people talking about it. And that's why you want to fund my work, because when you keep me independently funded, that gives me the ability to tell you the truth, regardless of whatever political narrative the right-wing media is shilling at any given time. Is it possible the left is only one threat? No. No, it's not possible. And you are new here. And that is something that you need to remember every time you have a question like this. And I don't mean any offense by it, but you are new. No, it is not possible that the left is only one threat. The left is the threat that is planning actively right now to shut down our entire economy for an extended period of time, starting on May 1st, 2028, every bit of organizing that they are doing between now and May 1st, 2028 is designed to contribute to that goal. Every single one. So if you are new here, what I would recommend you do is head over to my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Click on this thing here that says, new to my work, start here. Well, no, Ross, this isn't actually true because the left is coordinating. Do you know, Ross, I'm going to give you some advice, Ross, because you've been saying a lot of retard shit in my chat lately. You need to stop making statements as though they're fact. You need to start asking questions, because if you continue with this retard shit in my chat, pretending you know what you're talking about when you don't fucking know what you're talking about, you're going to end up getting banned, bro. So I'm going to recommend you stop saying things as though they are fact and you start asking questions. If you try to unionize anywhere, you'll get fired immediately. Oh yeah, Ross? Then how is the left doing salting campaigns in basically every major organization right now? Ross, do you even know what a salting campaign is? Pop quiz for the chat. What do I mean when I say salting campaign? Bet Ross doesn't know it. If Ross is under the deluded fucking impression that you get fired in a workplace if you try to unionize, then Ross has never heard of the term salting. Who has heard of the term salting? You guys know what that means? What does salting mean? You should absolutely hang on. Yeah, we're definitely in retardia. You should absolutely know what salting means. You have salt in your profile. Who knows what salting means? Oh, Ross, you're a massive fucking retard then. Hey, Ross, you know what I'm going to do? Ross, you just got banned for 24 hours. You want to know why you just got banned for 24 hours? Actually, I just hid you. I'm going to actually unhide you. Let me see. We're going to unhide user. I didn't mean to permanently ban you, Ross, but I'm going to time your ass out for 24 hours. Hang on. Ross, the reason I'm going to time your ass out for 24 hours is that you didn't listen to the good advice I just gave you, and you said something even more fucking stupid than you said before. Ross, do you know that the DSA has a nationwide program where they are getting people hired into Amazon specifically to do union organizing? Do you know that the DSA basically controls all of the Amazon unions, and they are working aggressively to get as many DSA members jobs at Amazon specifically to unionize? So no, Ross, no, that is complete bullshit. You are now banned from speaking for 24 hours because you didn't follow the very good advice that I gave you to shut the fuck up and start asking questions. And that's what it is. Salting is getting hired for the explicit purpose of organizing a union. Karlyn, how do you know that the DSA controls all the unions in Amazon? Because I have a 3-week class that the DSA gave explaining it on video. I literally have 3 weeks worth of classes and presentations on video from, what was it, almost a year ago? Where I infiltrated DSA meetings where they were specifically talking about getting people into Amazon and many other workplaces as well, grocery store unions, the UAW, the airlines, education, all of that stuff. They were talking about all the unions, but Amazon is at the top of their fucking list for salting. Because a lot of Amazon warehouses and things like that are unionized, but not all of them yet. So the DSA specifically has a program where they work with DSA members that already work at Amazon to get more DSA members hired. And then basically they just sit there and they unionize the organizations with the express purpose of building up to the May Day mass general strike on May 1st, 2028. Amazon is a key part of that. That's the type of info you get on this channel, guys, that you really don't get anywhere else. Let's do a couple W's. Prita, I don't think I've given you a W yet. 5 channel memberships, Prita. Thank you so much for the generous gift. We got John in there with a gifted channel membership. Thank you so much, John, for that. We are now up to 67% of our goal before we even start the stream. How cool is that? We got a chat from Red Menace Guru. Thank you so much, bro. May 1st, 2028, what you've heard about the truck union shutting down, I work in it and I'm wondering about the possibility of it. They strike, the country is fucked. I don't know that I've seen the truckers specifically involved in this, but it all depends on who the truckers unionize through. So that's something I will keep an eye out for. Just because I haven't heard about it doesn't mean it's not happening. I also might not know where they're unionized through. So it really kind of depends, because all of the major labor unions are involved in the May 1st, 2028 thing. So like, for example, if the truckers are unionized through like the United Auto Workers, like graduate students in college are organized through the United Auto Workers, okay? So, and that seems weird, but that's just the way it goes. So it really depends on how they're unionized, where they're organizing through. But certainly we should keep an eye out for this. It's a really good idea. Doesn't fucking matter, bro, if they are in a union. Edward, you're actually someone who also says a lot of retard things in the chat, and that's got to stop, bro. You got to start smartening up. You've been in the chat long enough where if you keep saying this low-level retard shit, I'm just going to remove you because it's annoying. It all depends. Oh, the Teamsters? Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. The Teamsters are absolutely involved in this. So I guess we'll have to see, but certainly we should keep an eye out for truckers. Really good idea. Chica Logo. 5 channel memberships. W's to you, my friend. Guys, if you're new here, every time someone gives out channel memberships, we give W's. They're not only supporting me, they are also supporting members of the community by doling out those free channel memberships. We've already given out 72 free channel memberships today. That's why you're here. You want to learn about the left? Bro, I will teach you everything I know, Gabriel. You are in the right place. You guys want to learn about the left? You're in the right place. Let me go back to this. Yo, hang on. Gabriel, we're going to come back to that. I'm going to tell you what to do, bro. We got to give our W's, though, to Stacy. Thank you so much, Stacy, for the 5 gifted channel memberships. W's to you, my dear. I really, really appreciate the support. You guys are rocking it today. Already up to 77% of our goal. Holy shit. Spoiling me today. Gabriel, what I want you to do, bro, when you have a couple minutes, 90 minutes to be exact, I want you to go to my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Click on new to my work, start here, and I want you to scroll down until you see this. This is an introductory class that I put together. It is completely for free. It is available on demand. It is called Re-Education and Anti-Communist Introduction to the Far Left. This is 90 minutes of far left clips where I walk you through their language and I do a breakdown of what the language means. So if you guys are newer to my work, if you just discovered me, welcome. We love new people here. Please make sure you are asking questions because you probably don't know as much about this as you think you do. That's not your fault. It's the fault of your influencers who have misinformed you. On my channel, in my work, Analyzing the Left, I only use primary source evidence. What that means is I go directly into far left trainings. I record them. I infiltrate their private meetings. I go undercover with them. I've gone undercover with Antifa more than literally anyone that I know of in the country. And I get them on recording saying what they say behind closed doors so that we can analyze it, break down their language, break down their messaging, break down their organizing strategy. If you are new, it's going to be so much easier for you to understand if you watch the re-education course. It's about 90 minutes long. It walks you through over a dozen clips from real far left trainings where I break it down. I explain the language to you so that you can really come up to speed a lot faster. You also have access to the 4-hour expanded version. It's a much longer version of the same class called How to Speak Socialist. That is also an on-demand recording, totally for free. And if you want to learn more about queer Marxism, which I promise you, you're going to start seeing more and more and more and more and more and more and more. I have an introductory lecture about that. That is the very best place to start. Again, all of this is available over on my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, completely for free. Watch it when you have time. Share it with your friends. And if you appreciate my work, you can also support me over there with a monthly or annual membership. So that's also appreciated. Sometimes people don't like giving on YouTube, but you can also become a monthly or annual member on Substack. And that does support my work. And I very, very, very much appreciate it. Cool. Probably you don't know what you've run into there. And again, that's not meant as any offense towards you. You probably don't know the stuff about queer Marxism you think you know. It's probably way, 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 way worse than what you think it is. How do you find people like us offline? We're working on figuring that out. Okay. We're trying to figure that shit out. We're working very diligently. Reminder, Trump had a Teamster boss. Yeah, they had a Teamster boss as the keynote speaker on night 1 of the RNC. That was one of the most mind-blowing things. We were watching the leader of the fucking Teamsters give an overtly socialist speech at the Republican National Convention when Trump got the nomination for this last time. And Republicans had no idea they were listening to a communist. They were like, yay, the unions are on our side. No, they aren't. The unions are controlled by leftists. All of the unions, with the exception of the police union, which the left thinks is not a real union, are controlled by leftists. And the Teamster that spoke on night 1 of the RNC in 2024 was actually endorsed by socialists. Okay, so let's hinge into reality. Let's hinge into reality on that one. And yeah, that was crazy. Yo, Ben Shai with the 5 channel memberships. W's, bro. Thank you so much for your very, very, very generous support. All right. without further ado, and now that we are at 82% of our goal, and guys, please feel free to donate those channel memberships if you want to help me meet the 100 channel membership goal. Deets, thank you so much for the super chat. Karlyn, I'm curious about the firefighters union. Are they like the police union? I don't know. That's a good question, Deets. I cannot ever recall seeing a firefighters union involved in leftist organizing. At the same time, the left does not view firefighters in the same way that they view the police. The police are oppressors because they are managers of capitalism. They don't have the same impression of firefighters, is my current understanding. But certainly we'll keep an eye out for this. You saw them? You saw firefighters? Okay, so you saw firefighter unions at No Kings and Mayday. I didn't. So this is why we have people on the ground, guys. For people who don't know, we actually have people in this community, many people in this community, who go to leftist events on the ground to see what's going on. So Hans is saying the firefighters unions were at the No Kings protest and the Mayday protest. So I didn't see that directly, but Hans did. So yes, apparently the firefighters are involved in this shit because they are at the leftist events. You learn something new every day. So there's your answer, Deets. Yeah, the firefighters unions are leftist as well. Awesome. All right, guys, we are going to get into it again. Today, we are going to be watching an interview with two Antifa members who were arrested in Minneapolis. This that was in Los Angeles. Makes total sense, Hans. I appreciate the intel on that. This interview was released literally hours ago. So we're going to hear directly from two people that were arrested in Minnesota for being members of Antifa and are currently awaiting trial. What's going on, their perspective, and stuff like that. So let's get this party salted. No, they do not salt police unions at all. The left does not believe the police unions are real unions. You guys got to understand, the left hates the police. The left wants to abolish the police. The left does not want to work with the police. The left will never work with the police. There is no universe in which they are going to involve themselves with the police in any way. The police unions, according to the left, are not real unions. So no, they would never salt the police unions because the police are the managers of capitalism, the enforcers of capitalism, the enforcers of property rights. The police are like enemy number one on the left. So I understand why you're asking the question, but there is no universe in which that will ever happen. Spanish Civil War is a valid history to study. We are facing now. The far left is a threat to normal society. Well, I do agree that the Spanish Civil War is interesting. I will remind you that I do not go back in history on this channel unless it's directly related to something going on right now, because we are the only place on the internet that does not pontificate and wax philosophical about the Frankfurt School and the French Revolution and all of this bullshit. I don't give a fuck what happened in history. I care what is happening right now. I study the left now. I study the left today in the real world. What happened in history? It may be interesting. Sometimes it may even be informative. And I do appreciate you bringing it up. It's not as though I'm unaware of the Spanish Civil War. Amalek's been in my ear about the Spanish Civil War for fucking months. But I really need you to understand, this is not a historical retrospective channel. This is not a philosophy channel. This is the only place on the internet where we study what the left is doing today, in real time, on the ground. And that is deeply important, because if you don't understand what the left is doing today, I don't care how much in-depth information you have about the Spanish Civil War. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't care how much information you have about Gramsci or Marcuse or Hegel or Freud or any of these people. I don't care. I don't care how many times you've read the Communist Manifesto, although most people haven't read it. I wrote a whole book debunking it. Most people haven't read it and don't even understand basic information about it. Because it doesn't matter. If you don't know what's going on today, The reason the right is so far behind is they keep going, let's study things that happened 100 years ago. Okay, things that happened 100 years ago are interesting, but they're not things that are going on today. And they may not have any relevance to what is going on today because today is fundamentally different than whatever the fuck was going on 100 years ago. So you got to keep that in mind. We do things a little bit differently here. W's Focus, thank you so much for that gifted channel membership. Really appreciate that. We got a member chat here. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel for 3 months. You rock, bro. Hey, Karlyn, I greatly appreciate all you do. I'm organizing in Louisiana and trying to bring people to your work, not trying not to be blackpilled. Well, it's easy to get blackpilled, isn't it? But again, if you're trying to bring people into my work, the very best thing you can do is tell them to go to the Substack, go to the new to my work start here section, and make sure they have watched the re-education class. That is the very best introduction. I'm going to be developing more things for new people, hopefully coming up real soon. But that is the best place to start now. Thank you so much for that, for being a member of the channel for 3 months. Really appreciate it. Okay. We're getting into the interview now. I'm going to stop yammering. We're going to get into the interview. Guys, please make sure you mount the like button if you're ready to hear what Antifa has to say directly. Let's listen in and see what we can learn. And if you are new and you have questions, please do ask them in the chat. I will do my very best to answer as many questions as I can. Let's get this party started.
So you're sitting in bed, 6 a.m. Tell us what happened.
Well, I'm laying down and I hear a crash and some yelling, and I think to myself, oh, one of the cats knocked the glass over and someone's yelling at them, and so I just kind of roll on back over. But the yelling doesn't stop, and at this point, I'm in my underwear, I'm in bed, I'm barely awake. I kind of stumble up. I walk this way, and I'm like, what? And then just kind of nonsense yelling, what? And I get out to about here, and I see half a dozen men with assault rifles and armor and helmets and suppressors, the whole 9 yards. This is military theater.
How cool do I look?
Yeah.
Now, they busted in the door here, didn't they?
Yeah, they busted the front door through the vestibule here. This was open. There's broken glass all over the ground there. And
is the person identified in the video? Yes. We are going to be listening to an interview with Callum Cal Robinette and Isaac Saint. That is who is in the interview today. I don't know who's who.
They yell at me to get on my knees, hands locked behind your heads. They cuff me. And that's when I noticed the Homeland Security media crew. There was a guy with a very expensive looking camera. It's kind of zooming in on my mostly naked body, trying to capture the violence for their own purposes as best as they could. They tell me, get up and walk to them, like over the broken glass, really? They throw me a pair of sandals, so have me walk out the door. And I hear a helicopter. I see a surveillance van, multiple SUVs, and I also see my neighbors.
And you're almost naked.
Almost naked. It's raining. They put me in the back of a vehicle. Don't tell me anything what's going on for quite a while. I see them come after my young roommates. I cuff one of them, pull them outside. The other one they don't cuff for whatever reason. Still pull them outside. Eventually they tell me that I am being charged with felony conspiracy to impede.
This is Andy Thayer with Graystack Media, and I have the immense honor of talking with Callum Cal Robinette and also Isaac Sant, who are two of the Minneapolis 15 who were rounded up by, I guess it's your local U.S. attorney here, Daniel Rosen, and his gang. You two are on some serious felony indictments. And as a fellow activist, I feel very honored that you would speak with me because, frankly, it's a dangerous thing to be talking publicly about anything when you're under indictment. A couple times in the past, I faced the same situation, and my lawyer is saying, "Oh, don't say anything, or be really limited." But as a political activist, you need to get your story out because you've got the whole state against you. You both are facing felony charges. Cal, you're facing, I understand, 5 or 6 years for allegedly being part of a conspiracy to obstruct ICE and Border Patrol. And Isaac, I understand that you're facing both a conspiracy to obstruct as well as so-called interstate stalking, whatever the heck that is. And I know that we can't talk about the specific charges, and we can't talk about
Okay, Gregory, I'm putting you in a timeout for 24 hours. The reason I'm putting you in a timeout for 24 hours is I told you enough with the retard comments. Guys, do you know how many times I have heard from conservative retards, "Can you imagine the smell?" I have been in the room with these people more than anyone. They don't smell. That's a conservative retard comment. They don't smell any differently than you or I. They wear fucking deodorant. They shower just like everyone else. And so, no, we are not going to have any more conservative retardation. They have fucking jobs. They are not paid protesters. I'm back. That was my fault. Yeah, that was my fault. I hit the wrong button. I'm back. Don't worry about it. I'm back. But yeah, guys, can we please dispense with the conservative retardation? Can we please dispense with your ongoing desire to own the fucking libs? Because owning the libs is why you are losing to the far left. Owning the libs, the constant fucking remarks, the constant degradation, the constant fucking insults. This is why you are losing to them and you don't even realize it.
But there's a lot of things in terms of the whole context of this attack on you, which isn't just an attack on you, which isn't just the attack on the 15, that I'd really like to talk to you about. Let's start with you. Isaac, when you first learned about this attack upon you and the other 14, what were your thoughts?
Well, so I knew this was coming about an hour before they came and got me because I was somewhere else and I heard that my house had been raided and they had arrested Cal. And then I learned about 3 other activists who they were coming for, and my partner kind of shook me awake and said that they're coming for everybody. And then shortly after that, my lawyer, who I already had on retainer from when ICE arrested me back in February, they seized my cell phone and he was filing motions for me to get my phone back, which I suppose wouldn't have gone anywhere anyway because of this. But he called me and told me there had been an indictment and that my name was on it, and advised me not to go anywhere. And then about an hour later, after that happened, Homeland Security investigations showed up. Like, they had a Customs and Border Patrol guy with them too, who was like all swatted out, looked like a desert stormtrooper, had a rifle, had a plate carrier on. And I knew they were coming even before they got there because I heard the sound of my neighbors following them and blowing whistles. And I heard whistles
I was muted for a second.
Piercing the morning, coming down the street. I think that's a great microcosm or a great analogy for what's happening here, really, because that kind of activity is what they're trying to crack down on. This case is not about interstate stalking. It's not about conspiracy to impede or obstruct. It's not about any of that. It's about intimidating people out of the streets and crushing the movement that rose up against ICE when they were here terrorizing people. I mean, we're only about a mile away right now from the gas station where Orbian Enriquez Serrano was choked unconscious by Border Patrol goons and dragged away, and people who saw him leaving couldn't tell if he was alive or dead. it's hard to describe to somebody who doesn't live here, just like the what the political weather was like, and like the sheer like atmosphere of terror that was everywhere in December and January. But like, I mean, they were fucking blackbagging people at the bus stop and, putting bags over people's heads and disappearing them. They were using facial recognition software at random people on the sidewalk and grabbing them. I mean, it was an everyday occurrence to hear the sound of whistles and start running towards it. And oftentimes when you got there, you'd be too late, and all you'd see is a car with its door still open, the engine's still running, and no driver because they had been abducted.
Well, in this case, though, I mean, those whistles coming from your neighbor, that even though they knew they were going to get you, you knew that was.
By the way, I want to point this out. Look at this guy on the left, or on the right, rather, on this right. The old guy that's kind of bald with glasses, that looks pretty jacked, like he lifts weights and stuff. I am not talking about the two people with beards. I'm talking about the old guy. If you saw that old guy with the glasses and no beard walking down the street, would you assume he's a communist? One in the chat, if you just saw this old guy in the real world and he was just wearing a plain non-political t-shirt and jeans and he was walking down the street, would you assume that he is a revolutionary communist? One in the chat if you would see him and assume he's a revolutionary communist. Two in the chat if you would not. When they say abducted, they mean detained for being an illegal. That guy on the right has filmed many far left events over the course of years. He has an entire YouTube channel of revolutionary leftist events. That guy's a hardcore revolutionary. He's such a hardcore revolutionary that he volunteers his time and his resources to document these events for posterity, to make sure that other leftists can watch them. Stop judging people based on how they look. Almost every single time that you judge people based on how they look, you end up being proven wrong. You do not know what communists look like. You do not know what leftists look like. Sometimes they look very stereotypical, and sometimes they look just like any other conservative, and you do not know. You cannot tell someone's political beliefs based on what they look like. Sometimes people who look like me with tattoos, sometimes we turn out to be fucking fascists. And sometimes people who look like that old man, who, if he was wearing just jeans and a t-shirt or like a flannel or something like that, he would look like a conservative MAGA supporter. You do not know. So stop believing that you do. Thank you so much, Dragontail, for the super chat. Picture me on Saturday nights at the Ramrod with men in leather thongs. Imagine the smell. Still better than Tim Pool's beanie or the Quartering's basement. Hey, I'll believe that, Dragontail. I'll believe that. Thank you so much for the super chat and that amazing visual image. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Trying to have that solidarity.
I mean, it was. I came outside with my head high. I surrendered myself without a fight. And then, although the prosecutor tried to have us held until trial because she argued that we were very dangerous people and that, because we had protested against ICE, maybe it followed that we could be a danger to witnesses or something like that. Luckily, the judge saw this as bullshit because it was bullshit. And and let us out maybe 9 or 10 hours after they
Kazmar. Can you send me a DM on Twitter? Can you send me a DM, girl? I have a question specifically for you, and I need to remember to ask you later. I need your help as an education professional. I have something very interesting that I've discovered that's going to be better for you're going to want to help with this. I promise you. Can you? Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So does. But yeah, it was gratifying to me to see that the movement's still there. People are still
I see you just sent me a
engaged in
DM, so
exactly
it
the
pops
same
up
kind
in
of
my
activity
inbox,
that
so I
they're trying
remember
to
to tell
crack
you.
down on. and they're trying to intimidate people out of doing. And I hope people keep it up. I mean, I think the state has a tendency to look for leaders in a leaderless movement, and they think that the
state has a tendency to look for leaders in a leaderless movement. There is no leader of Antifa. There is no singular funding source of Antifa. There is no head of the snake that you can cut off. And they tell you this overtly. We are a leaderless movement. We are a decentralized, non-hierarchical movement where there is no leader. There is no head of the snake. But people in the Trump administration and conservatives who can't imagine that people would try to purposefully organize without hierarchy, they cannot fathom a leaderless movement. The state is looking for the leader that does not exist. So let's just say that all these 15 Antifa people go to jail, that the Trump administration arrested. There are over 80,000 far-left anti-ICE activists in Minneapolis alone. Trump arrested 15 people. There are 80,000. 8,000 just in the Minneapolis signal groups alone. Okay? So you arrest 15 people, you throw their asses in jail for all time, which is not going to happen, by the way. They're probably going to get off. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you throw all these 15 people in jail for the rest of their lives. There's still 80,000 anti-ICE activists in Minnesota. There is no head of the snake. There is no single leader that you can cut off. There is no small group that if you arrested them and threw them in jail that would stop all of the anti-ICE organizing. And conservatives really need to start wrapping their head around the fact this is a leaderless movement. When someone is taken out, they are easily replaced with another person. And that's it. These are all cogs in a machine. That's it. If a cog is broken, they replace it with another one. If someone goes to jail, someone else will take their place.
Sort of cut the 15 of us out of the movement.
Yo, we got Dragon Tail in. Conservatives cannot exist without a leader. The far left can only... This is so well worded. So well worded. The right cannot exist without a leader. And we're going to see that, by the way. As soon as Donald Trump leaves office, or in like the final year of the Trump presidency, we're going to see how much the right needs a leader, and it's not going to be Trump anymore, guys. Trump is going to go away. Trump is basically going to be, come 2028, when the left is doing its mass general strike on May 1st, 2028, Trump is basically going to be irrelevant at that time. Everyone understands this, right? By May 1st, 2028, when the left is going to shut down the entire economy for an extended period of time, Trump is not going to be relevant as a leader anymore. He will be a lame duck president, probably with no ability to get anything through Congress, and the Republicans will already be fighting over who is going to be the next presidential nominee. They may even already have a new nominee at that time. By May 1st, 2028, we could probably be in a post-Trump world in which there will be no agreed-upon leader on the right. The right cannot exist without that head of the snake. The left cannot exist with the head of the snake. They do not operate like that. They very purposefully organize outside of a hierarchy because that keeps them outside of the capitalist model, which is very important to their values. Bro, I'm trying. If you're talking about salting, I'm listening. Tell us what you know. Like, come and try to, like, there are very few people listening. I agree with you. But if you have been talking about it, welcome.
Down on, and they're trying to intimidate people out of doing. And I hope people keep it up.
Bro, your math is wrong. Hang on. No. You need to work on math. 80,000 is not 1/5 of 5.8 million. That is you have incorrectly placed a decimal point, and that's a pretty important decimal point. So no, that's not true.
I mean, I think the state has a tendency to look for leaders in a leaderless movement, and they think that they can, sort of cut the 15 of us out of the movement with a scalpel, as if that's going to do something. But it's not, because the greatest strength of the resistance in Minneapolis has always been precisely its leaderlessness.
What did I just say? Literally, I haven't watched this interview yet, guys. Literally, Antifa just said what I just explained to you. You can cut these 15 people out of Antifa, you can put them in jail, and it's not going to fucking change anything because it is a leaderless movement. These 15 people will be very, very, very easily replaced. I literally just explained this to you. Again, Antifa, please explain.
Doing. And I hope people keep it up. I mean, I think the state has a tendency to look for leaders in a leaderless movement, and they think that they can, sort of cut the 15 of us out of the movement with a scalpel, as if that's going to do something. But it's not, because the greatest strength of the resistance in Minneapolis has always been precisely its leaderlessness, and the horizontal nature of it. I mean, even like
horizontal
long-time activists who have been organizing in the city for years or decades could not keep track of everything that was going on in January, because really, like, the entire society was rising up against them. And without getting too much into the—
Hang on, we got a question here. They're more valuable after being arrested. No, I wouldn't say that. I would not say more valuable. I would say they have value in a different way, because now they're martyrs. That's not to say more valuable. There are other people that are doing probably more than they are behind the scenes. They are now valuable in a different way because they are martyrs now. So their role in the movement has fundamentally changed. These people were lower level activists. Maybe they were producing propaganda. They were doing organizing, stuff like that. All of those things are deeply important. It's the day-to-day stuff, the day-to-day organizing, the phone calls, the texting, the getting people to come out to events, all of that boring stuff that conservatives refuse to do. These people do it. But now that they've been arrested, yeah, more valuable would imply a hierarchy. They don't think like that. They are valuable in a different way. Their role has changed. They have changed from just low-level activist to martyr, to symbol of the movement. But that does not mean they are more valuable. Everyone is valuable. They just have different roles. Oh, look, we got a conservative retard. We've got a conservative retard in the chat over on Rumble. Hang on. Let me show you the retard in the chat. Got to display the Rumble chat on the screen. I'd love for you to point out how to actually stop these bastards rather than constantly explaining why we can never beat them. It's almost like you're trying to demonize anyone who is anti-commie. Hey, Bob, if you don't understand your enemy, then you cannot defeat them. Bob, retards like you think you understand an enemy that you actually have no fucking clue about, because you won't shut the fuck up for 5 minutes of your fucking life and listen to them. If you want to know how to beat them, retard Bob, what you need to do is sit down, shut the fuck up, and actually listen to them for once in your life. And if you are unwilling to learn and you are unwilling to listen, then you are not smart enough to be in my community. And if you are committed to not being smart enough to be in my community, I don't give a flying fuck how you feel about it, because you are creating more problems for me. Retards like you create more problems for me. We have to go through retards like you in order to defeat the left, because people like you just talk and talk and talk and whine and complain and whine and complain and you do that all the fucking time without shutting the fuck up and listening to what the left says. So, Bob, that's your only warning that you're going to get. I see you whining in my Rumble chat again. You're going to get banned. Back to the show. Back to the listening.
The details of the indictment, because, as you said, I can't do that. A lot of us
Oh no, Bob didn't listen. Oh no, Bob didn't listen. Bob didn't listen to a word I said. Hey, Bob. Banned. Go away. Goodbye.
being prosecuted for events that allegedly took place on the day of the general strike on January 23rd, when it wasn't 15 of us and it wasn't just my little group. According to a poll carried out by an interfaith organization.
Well, no, I mean, listen, I don't want this. Listen, if you are new here, I don't want you to be afraid about what just happened, okay? Listen, what I have learned is that conservatives need to be slammed in the face until they shut the fuck up and listen. But if you are new here and you genuinely want to learn and you genuinely want to understand what's going on, I want you asking questions. I do not want you making statements or making demands of me. I've been teaching this stuff for a long ass time, and I know people who are willing to learn, and I know people who are not willing to learn. You should never be afraid of asking questions that are asked in good faith. But when you come in here and you show me a refusal to literally just listen to what's going on, you show me a refusal to use the freely available resources that I've already created, and most importantly, you whine and complain about my tone or my attitude, that's not someone I can teach. It's not. But if you're here to ask questions, I don't care if this is day one. Ask questions. Why do they do this? Why do they do that? What's up with this stupid thing that they do? Just don't make statements, because if you're new here, and everyone here has gone through this on the channel, if you are new here, you probably don't know as much as you think you know. That is not your fault. It is the fault of the retard conservative media who has misinformed you and lied to you. It is not your fault that you are misinformed, but you have to come here with an open mind and a willingness to learn, and don't make demands and don't whine and complain, because I promise you, I'm going to be much nicer to you than the left is ever going to be. Yo, Great Otis! Great Otis in with another 20 gifted channel memberships. Big support, bro. Big support. Great Otis getting us over the 100 channel member goal for today. You guys can still donate channel memberships. You can still give me stuff. It's okay. But we have met the goal, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. You guys rock. You guys rock. Best community on the internet. By far. By far. That's funny, Bryce. That's funny. That's funny. Let's see. I'm just going through the chat, guys. See what I missed. Hey, Jen, thanks for being a member of the channel for 23 months. Dr. K, sounds like Bob needs to read The Art of War. Yeah, guys, we're Sun Tzuing this shit. This is basic Sun Tzu, The Art of War. If you do not understand your enemy, there is nothing that you can do to defeat them. So before you ask me, what do we do to defeat them? What do we do to defeat them? What do we do to defeat them? Sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen. And I promise you, once you actually do that, once you actually listen to what the left is saying, and you start to understand them, and you understand their language, you will understand what is required. One in the chat, if after you learned the left's language and you spent some time listening to them directly, one in the chat if you knew what you had, what was required to defeat them. Two in the chat if you spent like 3 to 6 months listening to the left directly and you still had no clue how to defeat them. One in the chat if you spent about 3 to 6 months on my channel just listening to the left, and that was enough to teach you, okay, here's what we need to do to defeat them. 2 in the chat if I'm just making that shit up. Ask the community. Yeah, and if you can't handle me, you cannot handle the communists. I promise you.
Called Isaiah. Upwards of 380,000 people participated that day. Fully 8% of the population of Minnesota refused to work. This was
you're actually brand new here, so your vote doesn't count. What I said was 3 to 6 months. You have not been here 3 to 6 months. So sorry.
Massive show of force by the working class of the Twin Cities, who had at that time been terrorized for 7 weeks. And I think that it scared the shit out of the ruling class. It scared the shit out of Homeland Security. 60 CEOs signed a letter begging Donald Trump to de-escalate after that. And I think 2 days later, the following day, they murdered.
Hey, thanks, Stevens
our
over on
comrade
Rumble.
Alex Preddy in cold blood and in broad daylight on camera in front of my favorite donut shop.
I think it's important to note not only that 380,000 you're talking about, but some 80,000 people in this town were part of some rapid response network or another.
There, they just said it. They just said it. They just said it. I said to you guys earlier, I said they arrested 15 people. They have 80,000 people in those anti-I signal groups. You might have said, Karlyn, that number sounds high. It sounds like you're making up that number. Where did you get that 80,000 number? Oh, well, I'm sorry. They literally just said they have 80,000 people in those signal groups. I didn't plant that. The reason I know they have 80,000 people in those signal groups is because I infiltrated private leftist trainings where they talked about having 80,000 people in those signal groups. I secretly recorded them saying they had 80,000 people in those signal groups. And oh, look, now we're seeing again, yeah, it's important to understand we have 80,000 people in those signal groups. You arrest 15 people and put them in jail, doesn't fucking matter. We have 80,000 people in those signal groups. Again, sir?
Camera in front of my favorite donut shop.
I think it's important to note not only that 380,000 you're talking about, but some 80,000 people in this town were part of some rapid response network or another. Some 100,000 came out in, I believe it was minus 20 degree Fahrenheit weather, which even as a Chicagoan, I find that pretty damn incredible that people were that angry. And while we faced a lot of grief in Chicago during our Operation Midway Blitz, the proportion of ICE and Border Patrol versus the population of the Twin Cities, it was much more concentrated here.
Yeah. They sent 4,000 agents here. 4,000.
In the metro area is about
750,000 people between Minneapolis and St. Paul. For context, there's about 400 police officers in MPD. So there were, 10 times as many feds on the streets. We're not exaggerating when we call it an occupation.
But
Mercado's going to Maine? Oh, well, that'll be fun. Now I have to fucking go to Maine. Now I have to start commuting. Mercado Media's going to Maine? Looks like shit's about to pop off in Maine. How lucky that I live here. Haha.
This isn't the first time that obviously that people in the Twin Cities had to react
no, Mercado,
to so-called
I'll see him
law
there.
Enforcement. I mean,
someone should go into Mercado's chat and say, hey, Karlyn says she'll see you there, bro. I actually would like to talk to Mercado, like offline, because I actually, unironically, I think Mercado Media actually, he does a good job. He really does. He's a raging leftist. I don't agree with him politically, obviously. I do actually think his coverage is very good. So you guys can all tell Mercado that I will see him in Maine.
Going back, obviously, to Black Lives Matters and George Floyd in 2020, the city erupted with good reason. But there's also a strong union tradition here going right back to the 1930s. And I understand that a good number of the 15 are strong union members.
More than half of us, actually. 8 of the...
More than half of the arrested Antifa are in the unions. Guys, for people who are new, this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying the May 1st, 2028 mass general strike being coordinated through the unions. And by the way, the fact that they're in the unions means they have jobs. The unions are the backbone of far left organizing. This is not to say that every single person in a union is a far left organizer or a far leftist. That is not true. There are many, many, many people in unions that have to be in unions to have their job, that sometimes they don't want to be, but they have to be because that's just the way it goes. There are many people in unions who are not actively involved in the organizing or the day-to-day operations of those unions. However, the leadership in pretty much every single union except for the police union are leftists. And they are explicitly using the unions as the backbone of leftist organizing. Without the labor unions, leftist organizing falls apart. Okay? The most impactful thing the Republican Party can do right now, if Republicans want something that they can do immediately, hold congressional hearings into the political organizing activities of the labor unions, full stop. How have the labor unions contributed to anti-ICE organizing on a national level? If Republicans want something to do, as they're killing time up until they get slaughtered in the midterms, because they're going to get slaughtered in the midterms. I hope everyone understands that. They need to hold congressional hearings into the organizing activities of the unions and how the unions have contributed to the active impeding of federal ICE operations, because I promise you, there is a ton of stuff there that they have not considered, because without the unions, the anti-ICE organizing would not be nearly as effective as it is. Listen again to them say half of the Antifa members arrested in Minneapolis are members of the labor unions.
With good reason, but there's also a strong union tradition here going right back to the 1930s. And I understand that a good number of the 15 are strong union members.
More than half of us, actually. 8 of the 15 of us are unionists, and that's a big part of why they're cracking down on us. What scares the federal government is our ability to organize.
I fucking wish.
It's nothing in particular that happened on this day.
I can hear the narrative. We've got Antifa saying the federal government is terrified of our ability to organize in the labor unions. In my head, I've got the narrator going. The narrator is going, the Trump administration has no fucking clue that you guys are using the labor unions to organize. The Trump administration very literally believes you're paid protesters who don't have jobs. Really think about this, guys. The left is like, they're arresting us because we're using the unions to organize. The Trump administration has no fucking clue they're using the unions to organize this. The Trump administration has been promoting since the very beginning that these are paid protesters who don't have jobs. This is the disconnect. These people think they're being targeted because they're in the unions. No, they're not. They're being targeted because they were involved in far left organizations that have nothing to do with the unions. The unions are a different thing. And they were correct with the people that they arrested, by the way. These are actual members of Antifa. But to think that the Trump administration and anyone in Republican politics understands that the unions are the backbone of anti-ICE organizing, they think these people are paid protesters by George Soros and that they don't have real jobs. This is the problem. This is the problem. Republicans are fundamentally unhinged from reality. This is the problem.
Going back, obviously, to Black Lives Matters and George Floyd in 2020, the city erupted with good reason. But there's also a strong union tradition here going right back to the 1930s. And I understand that a good number of the 15 are strong union members.
More than half of us, actually. 8 of the 15 of us are unionists, and that's a big part of why they're cracking down on us. What scares the federal government is our ability to organize. It's nothing in particular that happened on this day or that day. It's the fact that this thickly organized ecosystem came together to resist them.
Well, and you said that they said, well, let's just chop off the leaders. On one level, that says they think everyone organizes the way they do, very top down. But this was clearly organic. Kel, could you say something about that in terms of how organic the movement was to working class people in this town?
I think a really good example.
By the way, just so you guys know, I have someone that I know in Maine right now who's actually at the leftist protest events, and they've got a bunch of people there. There is actually a pretty big leftist contingent already protesting in Maine. Actually, we're talking the video that I'm seeing, and this is raw footage from the ground. They've already got hundreds of people out at an ad hoc impromptu event in Maine. And again, remember, Maine is not somewhere where it's easy to get to places. You actually have to get in your car and drive. There's not public transportation that you can get on to get places. So the fact that they've got several hundred people out at an ad hoc event in Maine, shit's going to pop off. And people are going to come up from Boston, and they're probably going to come up from other places as well. It's a very easy location to get to. It's very, if you have a car and you have advance notice, very easy location to get to, okay? So, yup, fun times. Looks like I'm going to Maine tomorrow.
Speaking to that is the way that our particular neighborhood organizing committee kind of came together. We originally had one when things started, but it was so small that it merged with the neighborhood over. But then a separate one popped up, not knowing that we had merged with this other one. And then that one got so big that they split off again and remerged. This isn't something that some secret shadowy figure pointed will have here, here, here. This is all people just kind of standing up and trying to do what's right in their community. And I think one of the biggest strengths that we've had through this whole occupation is just everyone's out here trying shit. We're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, we're figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And the only way to do that is to do it together and keep trying new things. And I think it's really important for us to kind of recognize a leader-less movement is really a leader-full movement, right? People are kind of taking initiative. They're stepping up. They're coming to.
When you don't have a hierarchy, everyone becomes a leader. When you don't have a hierarchy where people are giving orders saying you will do X, Y, B, and Z, then everyone has the opportunity to step up and contribute in the way that they want to contribute. That is why their model is actually more effective, even if it doesn't make sense to you that they don't have a hierarchy. When you have a leader-less movement, that means you have a leader-full movement, a movement full of people who have the ability to step up and contribute. I mean, that is literally how they look at it, guys. Hey, thanks, Milk, and I think that's Milk and Cornbread. Thank you so much for being a member of the channel for 7 months. The blue collar conservative union, welders, truckers, electricians, plumbers face a rude awakening. Bro, those unions are controlled by leftists. I have seen the truckers. Well, we know the truckers have been at the protests. We saw them in LA. I have seen the electricians. I talked when I was in Portland, Oregon, outside the ICE facility. I talked to an electrician who was in the electricians union who told me that if the electricians don't get what they want from the anti-ICE stuff, they're going to shut down the electrical grid. So the electrician unions are 100% controlled by leftists. I've seen the plumbers out at these events. All of these people, we've seen them on the organizing calls. We've literally seen all of these more blue collar unions. The conservatives have no fucking idea. They're going to get hit in the face on May Day 2028 because their own media hasn't informed them about this. But I promise you, those blue collar unions are all controlled by leftists. Even if there are conservative members of the union, that doesn't matter because they're not in leadership positions. Yeah, Hans is saying electricians, plumbers, waste management workers at the LA May Day and No Kings. We've seen all of those unions at leftist events organizing. Dragon Tail, thank you so much for the super chat. Reminder, the far left is in a perpetual mode at all times. They always act like they're losing. They don't stop to gloat or go home like the right does. That is so true. The revolution is ongoing. The revolution is perpetual. The revolution is continuous. Thank you so much, Dragon Tail. Appreciate the super chat.
Do that. We're figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And the only way to do that is to do it together and keep trying new things. And I think it's really important for us to kind of recognize like a leader-less movement is really a leader-full movement, right? People are kind of taking initiative. They're stepping up. They're coming together. You know, the story that I like to tell about, you know, how the knitting club, the teachers union, parents.
The fucking knitting club! It's always the knitters. It's the knitters 100% of the time. The knitters are always fucking involved. When I was in Maine today, I was in Portland, Maine today, I literally walked by a knitting store and they had all sorts of like anti-ice shit in the window. And I was with my friend and I said, look at that shit. I was like, the fucking knitters. It's always the fucking knitters. Yeah. Knitter, please. Yeah. Yeah. It's not every knitter, but it is always the fucking knitters. Always and perpetually. The knitters, the teachers unions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
If they're stepping up, they're coming together. You know, the story that I like to tell about, you know, how the knitting club, the teachers union, parents watching school children, and the hacker club all kind of came together to help prevent ICE from trying to infiltrate school pickups, because that's something that they did in a lot of places. They had some really nasty tricks to try and steal children.
Well, in Chicago, they're going to domestic violence court, picking up witnesses. So, of course, I mean, especially if you're a plaintiff in that sort of situation, you just allowed perhaps
this shit doesn't happen in Latchhook, and you're right about that. Actually,
people are afraid to come out and tell their truth.
That's right. It's really embarrassing. That whole report just came out recently that said that 3/4 of the people that were picked up by ICE were not accused of any crime at all, and that also includes being here legally with papers. They were really coming after 3 groups of people: any immigrant for any reason, any brown person, and anyone that stood in their way. And that report and the statistics they have really show that that's.
Well, and I know you two can't speak to it for good reason, but reading through the indictment of the 15 few times now, I'm just struck at the banality of it, frankly. I mean, it's like, especially anyone who's familiar with what we've been doing in Chicago. It's like,
Chicago.
So people make shields. Yeah, because you're shooting tear gas and rubber bullets and God knows what at our faces. And not once. And again, I don't want you guys to talk about it, but I will.
When they're talking about making shields, guys, they're not talking about Soros-funded shields. They're talking about they get a big plastic barrel and cut them in half. And they usually steal the plastic barrel off of the street. And then they cut the barrel in half. And when you cut the big plastic barrel in half and you attach some stuff to it, all of a sudden you have 2 shields that you can use. That's what they're talking about. These are not Soros-funded shields. These are not military-grade weapons. It's literally a fucking big plastic barrel or a trash can that they have stolen off the street somewhere and cut in half and attached a handle to it, and then all of a sudden you have a shield. 2 shields, in fact, because there are 2 halves.
Not once do they accuse y'all of any kind of direct violence. No injuries.
Only retards think these are LARPers.
Not even U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen could point to a single incident of injury by any of his agents during that whole time. And yet you got people getting killed. You got people being severely injured. You even have apparent theft of people that they pick up. I mean, they were losing cash. They were losing people's cell phones. They were losing driver's license. So people, when they did finally get out, couldn't drive to their jobs. And this is a car-centric town. So that means something. They basically were playing fast and loose with their own laws. And this part you can comment on, and I'd really like to hear both of you talk about it. The response of local law enforcement during all of this.
You know, in a moment like this, when a lot of people were being activated politically for the first time in their lives, we had a lot of like very naive hopes from people that we heard that there was going to be some kind of split between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement, and maybe Tim Walz will deploy the National Guard to protect us, right? Or maybe MPD or SPPD or the sheriffs or somebody will turn their guns around and stand between these murderous psychopaths and the people. And of course that didn't happen. I mean, a friend of mine who was arrested patrolling and looking for ICE in her neighborhood, overheard them say when she went to the police station, she heard the local police say, well, we're all law enforcement, right? So we're all basically ICE. These guys want to be ICE so bad, you know, and that we saw a phenomenon after Tim Walz like made his deal with the devil with Tom Homan and negotiated for the kind of detente or the drawdown that happened in February. We saw Hennepin County sheriffs taking over a lot of the crowd control functions that ICE and Border Patrol had played before that. And in a weird, you know, David Lynch twist, they started looking like ICE too. And I saw Hennepin sheriffs wearing gaiters, like wearing face masks, and behaving in like cartoonishly brutal ways that I had never seen before. There was a real like theatrical quality to the violence that they meted out against the people here in the street that I think really empowered like regular cops and local law enforcement to act out in the same way.
Well, it was funny because they were encouraged, and obviously they're doing all that filming to gin up their base. In Chicago, that actually worked against them in that they even had white liberals in our Tony Lincoln Park neighborhood upset that they were coming down crashing
they even
kids'
had the
Halloween
liberals
parade so they could pick up, I think, some gardeners or something. I mean, it was so amazingly stupid on one level from their own standpoint. But I mean, the ICE abductions, at least in Chicago, are about as bad now. Yeah. They're just less blatant about it.
It's the same thing here.
Yeah. They've definitely adapted to more snatch and grab tactics and less massive raid tactics.
Let me know if I missed anything.
You know, when people turn out to oppose them, they don't want to be seen doing these things, right? Like, truthfully, it's really hard to describe the moral weight of what it feels like walking out, you know, especially during the height of it. Like, I'm not a religious person. I was raised Catholic, and the only real words I have to describe this is that I saw the devil out there. You know, I saw the face of the devil, and he hides behind a military mask because he's too afraid to show himself. You know, and when enough people turn out, he leaves because he doesn't want to be seen. You know, it's really all about the aesthetics for these people. They want to be seen as like violently solving the problem, but the real problem is that the ruling class has extracted so much from the regular people that they don't have means to live anymore, and they're blaming immigrants right now, and they're also blaming trans people right now, and they're coming for these two specific
guys again. Like, if you guys saw this guy walking down the street in his flannel, would you guys know that this was a trans revolutionary, he's not trans, but like a trans activist, not being trans, but like pro-trans revolutionary communist? If you guys just saw this guy walking down the street, would you think that guy loves trans people and is a revolutionary communist? Probably not.
Groups, but don't think that it'll stop there, right? We've all read the Niemöller poem. We know what happens. There's another thing that you said that I want to come back to about cops stealing stuff. from people. Are you familiar with the idea of a Starlight Tour?
No, I'm not.
So this is something that the RCMP used to do in Canada back in the 90s, is that they would find mostly just indigenous homeless people up in Alberta, and they would steal their coat and their shoes from them, drive them out to the forest, and drop them off. And this is something that we saw, the feds do to people here as well. It was an extreme.
Yeah, you're so full of shit. You're so full of shit. You guys are actually. I would totally believe he was you're so full of shit. If you just saw that person walking down the street, you would not think he was a leftist, bro. Stop fucking lying. In fact, I'm putting you in a timeout for being so fucking retarded. Like, that's the second retard thing you've said. You need to shut the fuck up.
Extremely cold winter. The coldest day was the day of the general strike, but it was below zero a lot this winter. And, for a while there, they were, snatching up any kind of observer, bringing them to the Bishop Henry Whipple building, which is a building that's on the federal land of Fort Snelling, which also notably is an early modern example of a concentration camp used against the Dakota people.
Nazis and lightning bolts.
Brought them there. Some people reported being paraded around like trophies, photos taken of them, especially queer people, people who are visibly queer. And then people, didn't have all their things returned to them, some without shoes, some without coats, being dumped off in public parks. And so this group called Haven Watch came together specifically to patrol these areas and watch for, people that could be experiencing frostbite on their extremities. This is a method of torture, right? And we need to be clear about that. They're intentionally torturing people. And that kind of stuff does not work to their favor, right? Normal people see something like that, and it makes them activate. Every time we saw ICE do something so horrific that it provoked a mass response, movement would grow exponentially.
The first inkling we got that ICE was coming, or there was going to be a ramp up in immigration enforcement here, was on June 3rd of 2025, when there was a big interagency task force that allegedly involved the FBI and the ATF too. I think it might have just been ICE and drag all of it, but they raided the taco shop at the corner of Lake and Bloomington, which is like a major thoroughfare in South Minneapolis. And they made all kinds of claims about why they did this. People came out, and the community came out en masse to oppose them. And they left after abducting some workers there. First, they claimed it was a drug bust. Then they claimed it was a sex trafficking operation. We would hear the same thing later in November after they raided.
Can someone go and ask Cam Higby on Twitter? That's not me, and don't be antagonistic. I want Cam to actually answer this. Can someone go and ask Cam if he's planning on going to Maine? Because if Cam Higby is planning on going to fucking Maine, I'm bringing my Chanel purse with me. That's all I'm saying. If Cam Higby is planning on going to Maine, I'm bringing the fucking black Chanel purse that I threatened to hit him with. Oh. I'm just gonna start swinging it above my... Yeah, I'm bringing a deadly weapon. I'm gonna bring a deadly weapon with me if Cam is coming to Maine. Yep.
The Brotex paper factory here in St. Paul. They were going to great pains to call it anything but what it was, which was immigration raids. But yeah, it's true that every time there was a new atrocity committed by them, the rapid response chats ballooned overnight. And
actually, okay, I know we should be listening to this, and we're going to. Actually, I have an even bigger Chanel purse that's even bigger than the last Chanel purse that I threatened to hit Cam with. Hang on, give me this moment. Hang on. I just got this brand new, for people who didn't see it, I just got this brand new giant fuck off Chanel purse. This is like a Chanel travel duffel bag. And I'm gonna retweet this right now and say, Cam, hi Cam, if you're coming to Maine, just know that I'm gonna have this bag with me, and if I hit you with this thing, it would really fucking hurt. This is a very large bag, Cam. So it is comically large, isn't it? I know. I know, it totally can. I'm gonna retweet this right now, and and everyone should respond to this. Yeah, by any person necessary, Cam Higby, you fucking asshole. If you don't know the joke about Cam getting hit with a purse, don't worry about it. I'm gonna retweet this and tag Cam and be like, hey Cam, just FYI, if you're planning on coming to Maine, just know I'm gonna have this purse with me, motherfucker, okay? In fact, let me just do that right now. Let me do that right now. Hi, Cam. Cam still follows me, which I think is a bold move. Just know that if you're planning on coming to Maine to cover the anti-ICE protests, I plan to have this bag with me in case I need to use it as a weapon. Boom. Let me, I'll give you guys the link to that. Hang on. If you guys want to tag Cam and we just lost like 20 viewers who are like, what the fuck is the purse content? Don't, listen, man, if you're here for the Antifa content, you also got to be here for the beating Cam Higby's ass with a purse content, which obviously I would never do. I'm joking. It's a joke. I'm not actually going to get violent with a fucking purse unless Cam starts it. Unless he starts it, and then it will be a self-defense purse. Yeah, I'm fed pursing. I'm fed pursing right now. It's fed pursing, guys. It's fed pursing. Okay, back to the interview. Everyone be serious.
We would hear the same thing later in November after they raided the Brotex paper factory here in St. Paul. They were going the great pains to call it anything but what it was, which was immigration raids. But yeah, I mean, it's true that every time there was a new atrocity committed by them, the rapid response chats ballooned overnight, and the movement of people against them exploded.
And then there was that incident with a pregnant woman in December.
Yeah, that was at Carmel Mall, which is a major Somali shopping center, and this was at the corner of 29th and Pillsbury, when an ICE agent who I think his name was Agent Brendan Cooney from upstate New York.
Hey, Phoenix, they're not making shit up. If you think that they're making shit up, that's probably an indication that you have never listened to the real far left. If you are laughing at them, that is probably an indication that you don't take this problem very seriously. You have stumbled upon a channel of people that take this problem very seriously and know they're not making shit up. So the next time I see you say something retarded in my chat, I'm going to put you in a timeout for the rest of the stream to silence you so that you actually shut the fuck up and listen. Because if you don't take this seriously, bro, just know that's why your side is going to lose. Well, no, you don't seem to. You don't seem to. Hey, Phoenix, what's the left's definition of capitalism? Phoenix, do you know the left's definition of capitalism? What is the left's definition of capitalism? When the left says, I want to overthrow capitalism, what does that actually mean? Do you know that answer? Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. Phoenix, we're waiting. Do you know the left's definition of capitalism? We are waiting for your answer. You should have already answered it by now, bro. It's a really simple answer. It's 3 words long. You've had plenty of time to type the answer into the chat. So are you going to admit you don't know the answer? You're just gonna, if you remain silent, I'm going to ban you from the channel. So Phoenix, if you don't answer the question, if you disrespect me when I ask you a direct question, you're going to get permanently banned from the channel. So you either now need to answer what is the left's definition of capitalism, or you need to admit you don't know. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting. You have 10 more seconds to answer before I permanently ban you in my chat. Because I've given you long enough. Either answer the question or admit you don't know. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, just ban you? Okay. Bye. Permanent ban. Bye. Go away. Goodbye. Permanent ban. Bye. Stunning and brave, right? Doesn't know basic 101 level information about the left, can't answer basic questions, and would rather be banned than learn.
Grabbed a pregnant woman by her handcuffs, and she was cuffed, and dragged her 10 feet face down across the snow. I understand she lost a pregnancy, but this was, I think that was a noteworthy day because it was the first day we saw somebody get away from them. She was not taken. But, you know, I got arrested by ICE months before this indictment dropped in February. And when they took me to intake in Whipple, it's in like a big hangar. It's in a big parking garage. And they have two separate lines. There's one that says immigration, and there's one that says like Section 111, assault on a federal officer. And all the white people, they lined up behind that table, and all the brown people, they had lined up behind the immigration one. I was not at that time being charged with assault on a federal officer. I'm still not, because I didn't fucking assault anyone.
Did they ever formally charge you with anything?
No, they didn't charge me with anything. They just confiscated my cell phone and then let me go.
Shocker that they even arrested you. Sometimes they just beat people up and leave.
Well, at the time, February 6th, I remember they arrested 12 legal observers that day, including myself. At the time, I thought like it was another escalation. Now I think of it as like a parting shot they were taking before Metro Surge formally ended on February 12th, 6 days later. But that being said, it's important that we understand that like Metro Surge never really ended. I mean, there's no longer 4,000 agents here, but there are still over 400 agents here. And so they're just being more covert about it. They're changing their tactics. Like you talked about, they're showing up to immigration court. They're abducting a lot more people out of jails. I mean, this was one of the concessions that Tim Walz gave to Homeland Security in exchange for the drawdown, was they're now allowed to enter any county jail in Minnesota. Before, they were restricted to places like Sherburne County Jail that had a 287G agreement with ICE. Now they can enter any of them. So the reason they're less visible on the street is because they're kidnapping people who are already in custody.
I see. Let's talk a little bit about the person who is heading all this up from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Daniel Rosen, the U.S. Attorney. This guy came in. I did a little bit of research on him. Sort of pretty typical corporate background, but then he gets in, and then there was says in the indictment, that you were so-called endangering law enforcement, organized lawless behavior. And
guys, do you know how many comments I'm getting on my social media right now from conservatives who have just discovered that the left still wears masks? I'm getting like random comments on shit saying, did you know they're still wearing masks at their events? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, I'm actually deeply familiar. I did know that. Yeah.
Yet, of course, as I said, couldn't point to a single agent being injured at all. And we got the administration, which has released a press release saying that defendants are quote unquote terrorists. And we're hearing that term tossed around a lot. There's a law in Florida that was just passed, which they're using to label the largest Muslim civil rights organization in the country, CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, which is basically the ACLU, or perhaps even far more conservative ACLU, representing the Muslim community, and they just label it terrorists. And they did the same thing following 9/11. I personally was involved, as were, of course, other people, in trying to defend the second largest Muslim charity that was shut down.
They're on other YouTube platforms. I haven't seen them on Facebook
and they
yet.
shut down all the others, basically using the terrorism label. And so this terrorism term, let's delve into that, how it's being used and abused.
Well, let's not mince words. How dare these people call us that, right? How dare they call us terrorists? These people murdered Renee Good, shot her in the head for trying to leave.
Trump issues an executive order saying Antifa are terrorists. The Antifa response is literally, "How dare you, sir?" Antifa is clutching their pearls. No, they don't hate the label. They actually don't give a fuck. They're like, "How dare you, sir?" It's almost not even like a serious fucking statement. It's like someone mocked, like, "How dare you," clutching their pearl, like, "How dare you call us terror?" Like, it's like, come on, bro.
Delve into that, how it's being used and abused.
Well, let's not mince words. How dare these people call us that, right? How dare they call us terrorists? These people murdered Renee Good, shot her in the head for trying to leave. They murdered Alex Preddy. They murdered Victor Diaz in holding. They shot and maimed Julio Sosa Celis through his front door and then lied about it and claimed he had attacked them. They used a 5-year-old child, Liam Ramos, as bait to get his father.
Yo, we got a super chat from ZXQ. Thank you so much for the 20. I dislike the way you pointed right in the face of a person during a high energy situation. I respect your craft and calling. Good luck, Karlyn. Yeah, well, that person who I pointed right at in his face, that person physically assaulted me. So you want to be mad at me? Hey, I'm keeping the 20. Thanks for the 20 and thanks for the compliment. If I point in someone's face and that person responds by physically assaulting me, and by the way, that person was screaming at me, calling me a member of Antifa, and I said, "Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about." And then I was physically assaulted by a MAGA retard who was drunk. By the way, did you know that guy was drunk? Did you know that guy was drunk and on fucking drugs outside the ICE facility? But I'm the problem for pointing his face when he was screaming belligerently at me and then he physically assaulted me? Keeping the 20, appreciate the compliment. I was not the problem in that situation. If you are screaming at me that I'm Antifa, acting like a drunk, belligerent jackass, I will get in your fucking face and tell you, shut the fuck up. And if you physically assault me, you are the problem. But thanks for the 20, bro. Appreciate that. Because I wasn't doing anything wrong and the drunk meth head started it. Why are you on the side of a drunk meth head trying to get me fucking hurt? Why are you on the side of a drunk meth head who physically assaulted me? Maybe you should think about that. Maybe, listen, bro, if you want to be on the sides of the Magatar drunk meth head outside the ICE facility who's actually physically assaulting women because he's a fucking idiot, then that's your side, bro. That's your team. But just know, we are not on the same team. I am not on the same side as the drunk, magatard meth head who physically assaulted me outside of the ICE facility. I'm not on that guy's side. If you're on that guy's side, fine. I am not on that guy's side. That guy can go fuck himself just as much as Antifa can go fuck themselves. Like, to me, they are no fucking different. But thanks for the money. I'm totally keeping it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. We got a member chat from Fishing, I think. Fishing Flat, thanks for being a member of the channel for 5 months, bro. I had 2 good teachers in my life. My 5th grade teacher and Dr. K both made it easy to understand. I'm turning 62 this month. Happy birthday, bro. And I'm still learning. Thanks, Teach. Thank you, Fishing, for being a supporter on the channel for 5 months. Thank you for listening. Really, really appreciate that. We got Old Sub in addition to the big support today with 20 bucks. Thank you so much, Old Sub. I know it's already been said, but for the newbies, the only way to defeat communism is with fascism. So true, so true. President Trump is not willing. His domestic policy is weak. Insurrection Act and overwhelming force is what is all that will win. Yes, Trump needs... Listen, if anti-ICE protesting pops off, as I think it will at some point, Trump needs to invoke the Insurrection Act. And if he doesn't, then he's a massive pussy, and we should all acknowledge that. Thank you so much, Old Sub. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, and then they took a page out of the Israeli playbook and accused his father of using Liam's son, right? I mean, these people are terrorists. These are masked terrorists who roamed our streets, fucking people up. Bortak, which was a
not Tina Kotex, intrepid Portland streamer. Were you there the night the meth head physically assaulted me? I don't remember. I don't think you were there, but maybe you were. I don't know. Not Tina Kotex. W's, good sir. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you so much for the support. Really, really appreciate it.
Liam as a human shield just for being a man with a son, right? I mean, these people are terrorists. These are masked terrorists who roamed our streets, fucking people up. Bortak, which was...
Okay, I swear to God, I'm gonna let this play, but I have another thought. I'm actually really happy that the shit is popping off in Maine. You want to know why? Because if the streamers come to Maine, inevitably, I am going to end up on a stream somewhere. And then everyone will be able to see that I've lost a fuck ton of weight. And everyone will be able to see I'm not using any mystery filters or anything like that. I'm actually really excited for this. I am excited for people to see me caught on a live stream camera. Someone would be like, "Is that Karlyn?" I'm really excited for this eventuality. I'm excited about that because I am so fucking sick of people saying Karlyn didn't really lose weight. She's just using filters. Oh, did I fuck tards? Did I fuck tards? Did I? No, I gave up carbs and sugar for 6 fucking months. People are going to see. It's almost time. The big reveal is going to happen eventually, and then people are going to have to shut the fuck up. Yeah, they'll probably Photoshop it to make it look like I'm still fat. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Time for the fucking reveal, man. It was always going to happen at some point. Okay, I'm going to shut the fuck up and listen now.
I mean,
taking my own advice.
These people are terrorists. These are masked terrorists who roamed our streets, fucking people up. Bortak, which was a Border Patrol Tactical, which kind of functioned as Greg Bovino's personal bodyguards over this. They were, I think there was almost like a pornographic quality to their violence where they were doing it for the cameras. A lot of the time I would see them punch and kick people and then just leave them on the ground and not even make an arrest. But, you know, at one point we saw them throw a tear gas canister out of a moving car on the highway. We saw them blast down residential streets at 80 miles an hour. These were these people were a menace to public safety. And I'm not accused of harming a soul.
I think it's really important to take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. You mentioned 9/11 and the Patriot Act a little bit. A lot of the things that we're seeing happening in America now are things that are kind of echoes of the war on terror. Some of the horrific crimes that we saw happening in Iraq. Happening in
I've heard the same thing. So we're going to see.
Afghanistan kind of set the stage, right? All of the surplus equipment from these wars now become the property of police agencies.
And that was a bipartisan program.
It sure was.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of important to recognize that this didn't come from nowhere, right? The tactics that we see here are some of the same tactics we see in the West Bank, and in Gaza. Some of the horrific kinds of victim blaming that we see are the same kind of things that we see from people in Africa who say no to some of these global powers trying to exploit them. And it's all part of one big system of terror. And we have to recognize our place in this and our ability to stand together with all of these people.
Yeah, and you just had a murder in Houston a couple of days ago.
Yeah, on the 6-month anniversary of the killing of Renee Good. They killed Lorenzo on, July 7th?
Yes.
Yeah, 6 months to the day, and they used the same talking points. Same talking points they used when they killed someone. They non-fatally shot someone in Glen Burnie, Maryland, with the same excuse, and I think somewhere elsewhere too. It really seems to be part of the ICE playbook to say, "Oh, this person was weaponizing their vehicle," even though I shot them from a good distance through the driver's side window.
Yeah, true, guys. No Fed posting in the chat, please. No Fed posting in the chat. We don't do that shit here. Disavow all violence, except when it's hitting someone with a purse, which isn't real violence, and it's a joke. We do disavow. We disavow real violence with purses, not imaginary internet violence with purses.
But yeah, I mean, it's not going to stop. Their terror is ratcheting up, and I think we have to understand all of this in the context of this regime trying to criminalize left-wing politics in general. They raise the boogeyman of quote Antifa, which is not a real organization. I don't believe has been since.
Correct. Antifa is not a real organization because Antifa, as we know it today in the United States, is a non-hierarchical, decentralized structure in which there are thousands of Antifa cells all over the country that are actively planning on doing crazy shit. And they are, but it's not an official organization. There is no leadership of Antifa. There is no funding of Antifa. All that stuff. Bro! You know what I love? You know what I love almost more than anything else? When I yell at someone and give them a good dressing down, and they give me more money. It's like, can we get a round of W's in the chat for ZXQ? ZXQ gave me $20 and he said some stuff that I didn't appreciate, and I told him I didn't appreciate that. And now ZXQ has come back and given me $50. So, W, good sir. W, pass the test. You are welcome to stay in the community. I fucking love it when that shit happens. I still want to say thank you for showing our enemies true beliefs. We still have to, yes, I you know what? Bro, on this point, we agree. And it's not just because you just gave me $50. Oh, it's a very nice recovery. It's not just because you just gave me $50 in a super generous super chat. I do wholeheartedly agree with you that we need to crush their spirits and beliefs, and we cannot allow retarded, conservative, drunk, meth head magatards to get in our way. Retarded, conservative, drunk, meth head magatards need to be silenced as well because they are also a fucking problem. But we need to crush every hope and dream that these leftists have. I 100% agree. Thank you so much for the generous support. You win the chat for the day for coming back with $50 after I dressed you down. I'm being serious though. I love that shit. I love when people do that. Thank you so much, bro. Donnie girl, 5 channel memberships. W's to you, my dear. Aloha. I hope things are all well in Hawaii.
The 1930s in Germany. This all has to be understood in the context of Trump's NSPM 7 memo directing the Justice Department to come after quote unquote left-wing terrorists. And if they can't find one, we'll go out there and make one, right? Which is what they do.
Well,
so I want to make sure people understand this. These people are Antifa activists. This is actually this is a rare W for the Trump administration. they actually did arrest Antifa. And I didn't expect that, if I'm being honest. When I heard about these arrests in Minnesota, I fully expected that these people were not going to turn out to be real Antifa. I fully expected them to be some sort of like liberal or Democratic Party affiliated people, just because that's usually what the Trump administration does. In a rare Trump administration W, they did actually arrest revolutionary communists, so far as I can tell, okay? So now the revolutionary communists are coming out and saying, we're not really part of Antifa. And that's because the Trump administration has not adequately defined what being a part of Antifa means. What they need to do is define Antifa based on their behaviors, based on participating in certain types of direct action, based on being involved in the distribution of certain types of propaganda. They need to define it more clearly, because these people have every leg to stand on to say it's not a real organization, because quite frankly, it's not. It's a non-hierarchical, decentralized organization. So these are real Antifa. They are actually involved with real Antifa organizations. These are, and when I say Antifa, I mean revolutionary communists engaging in violent direct action, black bloc, security culture, engaging in very specific behaviors that are outlined in Antifa like writings and propaganda. One of these people was contributing to CrimeThink, which is Antifa's publishing arm. And so you have to be really, really specific about the definition that you're using, because they have every ability right now, because the Trump administration has not done a good job of defining what it means to be an Antifa. They have every ability to say, what is he even talking about? This hasn't even a thing that's existed since the 30s. It does exist, but you have to put a better definition around it. So,
yeah, I mean, it's not going to stop. Their terror is ratcheting up, and I think we have to understand all of this in the context of this regime trying to criminalize left-wing politics in general. They raised the boogeyman of quote Antifa, which is not a real organization. I don't believe has been since the 1930s in Germany. This all has to be understood in the context of Trump's NSPM 7 memo directing the Justice Department to come after.
No. Communists are not fascists. Fascists are not communists. This is a conservative retard talking point. It is not real. These are anti-capitalist revolutionaries. They are anarcho-communists. Anarcho-communist is not the same as fascist. And every time you guys use this retarded talking point, it just shows you don't know what Antifa means. It also shows you don't know what fascist means. So no, that's not true. Oh, you're joking? See, I was concerned. I was like, G.I. Joe should know this. All right. Touche, bro. You got me.
Quote unquote left-wing terrorists.
It's all good, bro. You're good.
You're
fine.
If they can't find one, we'll go out there and make one, right? Which is what they do.
Well, in Antifa, I mean, it was Trump's executive order that said that Antifa, which isn't even an organization, shall be designated a domestic terrorist organization. So
which is not a real designation.
Yeah,
there is a foreign terrorist organizations list, which I understand.
You were being funny once I could hear the sarcasm, okay? I couldn't hear the sarcasm at first. It's all good, bro. It's all good. It's all good. You're fine.
And the State Department is trying to like, they're trying to find an angle to look for foreign connections in radical left organizations.
True. And that's not
try
real.
to like,
that's made up.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this Florida law that I mentioned a little bit earlier, where they designate the Council on American-Islamic Relations as a terrorist, it doesn't stop there, because any student going to a Florida public university, if they're seen to be donating or supporting in any way, they're then under that.
Right now in Michigan, there are 8 people charged with conspiracy for going to Palestine protests on campus, right? In a case that looks strangely familiar to ours. They're all charged with effectively going to meetings and having group chats and going to protests. And now they're not allowed to speak to one another. Their houses got raided by, I think it was FBI in their case. Mm-hmm. In my case, it was actual ICE. They had something that said ICE evidence form that they dropped off. They had someone with a Homeland Security media there filming the whole thing.
But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think what makes conspiracy charges very attractive for prosecutors as a way to go after political activists in particular is that it's a very convenient way to criminalize all sorts of lawful activity and First Amendment activity. If you just say like, oh, this mundane, making this phone call or attending this meeting or painting this sign was done in furtherance of a criminal conspiracy, you can retroactively make it illegal, and suddenly it's not protected by the First Amendment.
Well, it's directly contrary to the First Amendment right of free association and freedom to assemble. Right. I mean, that's what's so outrageous. It's so vague. You can use it as a catch-all, and yet, of course, it's right against the very First Amendment to the Constitution, and that's being eroded before our eyes.
Sure.
And at the same time, over the 4th of July weekend, we see the Patriot Front running around DC in apparent coordination with the DC police, marching in the street, masked up.
I hear they had shields.
Yeah, they had shields. They definitely did. Believe me, when I saw that.
So we got a super chat from Little Miss. Good to see you, bro. Such love. Sending my donation to keep up our research group. Thanks again, Karlyn. When I can donate more, I will. Jenny and Julietta say hi. Thank you so much for always being such an amazing supporter, Little Miss. Appreciate you. Hi to Jenny and Julietta. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your ongoing support. You rock. You know what's funny? Can I show you guys something? Hang on. You guys are not going to fucking believe this. Hang on. Jake Lang. Hang on. I'm not showing anything confidential. Jake Lang messaged me on Instagram. This is Jake Lang's official profile. And he messaged me on Instagram, and all he said was, "Hey." And I responded, "Hello." I was like, why the fuck is Jake Lang messaging me on Instagram? And he never answered, so I don't know. The mystery remains. I have no fucking idea why Jake Lang messaged me on Instagram.
Said, well, hey, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. They had shields. And
yeah,
these
exactly.
people, they're avowed white supremacists. They talk about getting rid of races they don't like.
I'm not going to get involved with Jake Lang, guys. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure you guys see a lot of filth on social media.
My favorite comment so far on one of our videos was, first they came for the dumbasses.
Yeah.
My favorite is fake farmer in the Dell and Jerry Garcia wannabe are up there lying or whatever.
Yeah.
That one was.
Yo, we got another super chat. You guys are being so generous today with the support. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. Old Sabe with another 20. I just had a big debate with an old shipmate saying the same thing. He believed that fascists and communists were basically the same. No, they are fundamentally different, I promise you. I tried really hard to educate him, but that idea is really baked in with the conservatives. We can only... Excuse me, old sub. We can only do what we can do. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Thank you for fighting the good fight, old sub. I appreciate you trying to teach him. Some people we can teach and some people we just can't. Thank you so much for the support.
It's pretty good. Whoever that was. Shout out.
But in all seriousness, you have stuff being said on social media directly advocating violence. I reported to Zuckerberg, et cetera. Of course, nothing happens. But the prosecution is so selective that January 6th people get off, and you guys who I think you've put it quite rightly, modestly, you're part of a whole fabric of people that are standing up to these thugs, because frankly, the local authorities won't. I mean, I'm wearing a T-shirt for Silveria Villegas Gonzalez, who was murdered in Franklin Park, Illinois.
Rest in power.
And what we're finding, not only with him, but Miramar Martinez, who was shot 5 times, fortunately survived. is that none of our local law enforcement, I understand there's one case here on the Twin Cities where actually a local law enforcement actually did step forward to try and charge one of these federal thugs, but in the entire Cook County during Operation Midway Blitz, not a single law enforcement agency or officer reported to the Cook County State's Attorney so that criminal charges could be found. So you got that blue wall of silence, which you all have seen.
Hey, W's to Little Miss. Thank you so much for the membership, bro. You rock.
Up here is even stronger in Chicago, which is notorious internationally for that blue wall of silence where cops protect cops.
I mean, we've had no less than Stephen Miller come out and tell ICE agents on TV, like, you guys have federal immunity in pursuit of your duties. Do whatever you want. And he doubled down on that recently, I think, and said that Jonathan Ross, who murdered Renee Good, was just a guy doing his job. I quote. I mean, they want blood in the streets. They're broadcasting to these men that they can do whatever the fuck they want with no consequence.
Well, and even federal judges have called them out about it. And I'd like to go back to our friend Daniel Rosen. According to the chief federal judge here, they found nearly 100 violations of court orders in January. And that had, by the end of February, that had grown to 200 violations of federal court orders. Another federal judge talked about it and said, ICE has likely violated more court orders in January 2026 than some federal agencies have violated in their entire existence, end quote. He also wrote, increasingly, this court has had to resort to using the threat of civil contempt to force ICE to comply with orders. This court is not aware of another occasion in the history of the United States.
You know, I was just thinking this today too, SoCal Ray. I was literally driving back from Maine and I was like, we really should be stockpiling food. I was literally having this conversation in my head on the way back because I'd had a long conversation with the guy I was having a meeting with about the May 1st, 2028 general strike. And I was thinking, I was like, we should really be stockpiling food. And I'm not a prepper by any means. I am woefully inept at prepping, but they are going to try to shut down the grocery stores. Like the grocery store union is involved in that May 1st, 2028 mass general strike. And so if I were you guys, I would start thinking about maybe having a little bit of a stockpile of food. I'm not saying anything, well, maybe, you know, go as crazy as you want, I suppose. But, you know, I'm very seriously going to have a talk with my husband about, Victor, I don't think that conservatives are going to stop this May 1st, 2028 thing. And maybe we should just dedicate a little section of our basement to having some shelves with some food and some stuff just in case. Maybe we should do that. And ammunition. And also, good point, guns and bullets and all sorts of other things that you can use to defend yourself. That's actually a really good point. Really good point. We got to prepare, guys. We know this stuff is coming. And we know that in all likelihood, the right is going to do nothing to stop it. We know, like, that is the most likely outcome. Toilet paper, you know, but yep, toilet paper, that needs to get added to the list. You're right about that, Kristen. Yep.
In which a federal court has had to threaten contempt again and again and again.
We got another super chat. Thank you guys so much for the support. Smashing cultural Marxism. The way you know the left, I know prepping. You got me? You're going to teach me how to be a prepper? Awesome. Appreciate that. Teamwork makes the dream work, bro. Appreciate the super chat.
And to force the United States government to comply with court orders. So you have these judges.
Have a crossbow.
I mean,
Victor,
it was frustrating in Chicago, and I'm sure it's frustrating up here. People are throwing paper at these thugs, and nothing happens on the ground. Now, some of them are doing it with goodwill. A lot of the politicians were doing it just, hey, I'm doing something without doing something. But the frustration that regular folks must feel when they see the violence continuing, and they wonder why people practice civil disobedience.
I mean, look, I think, again, without mentioning any of the effects of the indictment, I think ICE and Homeland Security are calling the essential bluff of liberal democracy that the government is not above the law. And
when he says liberal democracy, that's not a good thing. He's saying liberal democracy is bad. They want to overthrow what they call liberal democracy. It's basically synonymous with capitalist democracy. Remember, guys, these are not liberals. These are revolutionary communists. They fucking hate liberals. They consider liberal democracy to be a form of capitalism.
I mean, look, I think, again, without mentioning any of the effects of the indictment, I think ICE and Homeland Security are calling the essential bluff of liberal democracy that the government is not above the law.
Precisely.
And
thank you.
They're saying, there are laws, there are checks and balances. Well, watch me.
Sure.
And to an extent, they're right. They're proving in public that there is no law, there's only enforcement.
Good call.
And this is a government that's chosen to abandon all pretense of rule of law or liberal democracy, and they're choosing to govern by force alone. And by my estimations, that's not a sign of a strong government. It's a sign of a weak government. It's a sign of a state for whom the old mechanisms of repression don't work anymore, and they have to resort to brute force alone. And
hey, we got another super chat. Thank you so much, John, for the $20. At least 90 days of food, water, medical, firearms, and ammo, and weed. Don't forget weed. Listen, I'm deadly serious about this, guys. I know we're kind of making light of it a little bit, but really, I'm probably going to be watching some prepping videos. I'm going to be asking around for things. I truly think we're going to be fucked for a little while come May 1st, 2028. And listen, best case scenario is I'm wrong. Best case scenario is that Republicans get their shit together and they start to manage what's going to go on May 1st, 2028. Best case scenario is that it fizzles out as quickly as it begins. And I would love nothing more than for that to happen. But I'm just saying, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that we should all have some food and some water and some medical and some weed and some guns and some ammo and, all the things for a little while. And if we don't need it, then we don't need it, and that's fine.
I think that's a sign of a government that's in crisis, and ultimately a government that can be defeated. And that's why we're seeing these increasingly ham-fisted attempts to come after people like us.
For every blueprint they left in our snow during Metro Surge,
good idea,
3 more people popped up to say no to them. It was impressive, the level of intra-organization that happened between every single social network that existed out there. It was the local roller derby team was showing up with, the beating club showing up with, the taco taxi truck was showing up with everybody, the faith groups, the girlies go clubbing groups, everyone was out there, and every time that they do something heinous, again, it just breeds more resistance. And it's something that they're figuring out, and now we see them pivoting to these, outstate, smaller snatch and grabs. And it's something that we're going to have to keep working on.
We hear all this stuff about how they're only going after the worst of the worst, we're going after drug dealers. We're going after child molesters. I mean, I don't think anyone is stupid enough to believe this shit. They're going after anybody and everybody, especially after the surge of 2,000 more agents came here in January. They were just abducting people off the street corner. They took one of my coworkers, who was a West African woman, a grandmother of 3, healthcare worker, while she was pumping gas at the gas station up in the north suburbs of Minneapolis. And as far as I know, she's still languishing in the concentration camp in El Paso, Texas, awaiting deportation now. So they're coming after everybody, and it has it has a real effect on the social fabric when people just start disappearing. I had to sit down with this woman's son and talk to him about.
Yo, we got John in with another super chat. Thank you so much for the support, bro. Including protective masks for tear gas and a vest. That's also good tip. We got to start making a list. We got to start making a list to prep. Thank you, John.
What we could do, and the answer was nothing. We couldn't do anything because the reason they flew her to El Paso like, overnight was to make it harder for a lawyer here to file a habeas petition for her.
Well, in that particular tactic of deporting people out of state, that was one of the many court orders that they violated. They were shipping people out of state that they were told they shouldn't ship out of state. It happened to, I read in your Minneapolis Star Tribune, about a 16-year-old who was out getting food for his family, taken off the street, had no grounds legally to do it, shipped him off to Michigan, was missing from his family. They could not locate him for 5 or 6 days. And if that wasn't bad enough, they took an additional 4 days to get this kid who was shipped off to Michigan from the Twin Cities here back to his family. And there was zero grounds for it, not under indictment or anything like that. They literally are losing people out of state, besides, as we mentioned earlier, often taking their possessions.
How many thousands of children have they lost already? I don't have the figure offhand. Maybe you do.
I don't, but the killings in custody are way up over last year. There were 33 killed in custody, died in custody, God knows how, in 2025. And through June of this year, 21, i.e. they're at a far faster clip, even though Operation Midway Blitz is over, supposedly, and supposedly Metro Surge is over. The amount of ICE and Border Patrol killings is actually increased.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the one story that sticks out in my mind about this was at the Target just down the road here when Greg Bovino came there himself, and the only one who was not masked up. This was all for show. They came in and they tackled one of the underage workers there just in the vestibule at the front of the Target. And he's screaming, "I'm a citizen. I have my passport." And they said back, "We don't care."
This was one of those Twilight Tour cases that they left him in a park in sub-zero temperatures that night.
Yeah. Yeah. I also had a coworker or a union sibling that was taken by ICE merely for witnessing an abduction. Had nothing to do with it. Just kind of walked out of the apartment to see them threatening to shoot a woman through her door if she didn't let them in. And just for seeing that, they took them. In our union, we worked together to pass this resolution to allow stewards to shut down job sites if ICE was nearby, because it's a safety issue. It's a safety issue, being out there when these monsters are running around terrorizing our communities. They're trying to wreck as many families as they can. They're trying to wreck our economy as best as they can. They're trying to wreck our social fabric as best as they can. And we're not going to let them do that, right? We love our neighbors. We care about our neighbors. I've been a resident of Minnesota my whole life, and this is how we've always done things. And watching these, again, monsters come from out of town and do the kinds of horrific things that you only hear about in historical accounts. I would just ask everybody, what would you do in that situation, right? Would you just kind of sit back and say, "Oh, well, they're not coming for me"? Or would you say, I need to protect my neighbors. I need to make sure my neighbors are fed. I need to make sure that their kids are getting home from school every day. We need to make sure that everybody knows when somebody gets taken, that's what happened. There are people that were out there driving around in their vehicles looking for ICE abductions, but there was a point when you didn't even have to drive around. You could just walk around certain neighborhoods and you would see them walking down the street, sometimes looking like soldiers, It was kind of absurd in ways that's hard to describe to people that didn't experience it. I want people to think about this. you're watching this video now, just know that Minneapolis is not the be-all, end-all of this.
That's a good one, Steve.
Less than 2% of our population is undocumented. And just looking at the statistics of who they've taken and what they're really trying to do becomes apparent, right? This is a naked attempt to smash resistance, and it's not going to work. Not going to work.
Well, and they're breaking not just federal laws in doing this, and Fed's doing obviously nothing about it, but numerous state laws. We saw in local laws in Chicago, and Chicago has got an ordinance saying that the cops are not allowed to collaborate with ICE, and yet not a single criminal complaint throughout the entire county has been referred to the Cook County State's Attorney for prosecution. And that gets to another thing is that we're hearing a lot of words out of our Democratic Party friends, I use the term advisedly, about what they're going to do. They're going to bring back democracy.
They hate the Democrats. Our Democratic Party friends, I use that term advisedly. These people hate the Democrats, guys.
And that gets to another thing is that we're hearing a lot of words out of our Democratic Party friends, I use the term advisedly, about what they're going to do. They're going to bring back democracy. They're going to do this, that, and the other. Well, ICE was instituted following 9/11. The Patriot Act was instituted following 9/11. And there was an infamous quote by one of our most infamous mayors where he said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." It was used in terms of Katrina, in terms of shutting down the public school system, privatizing up the yin-yang, and 9/11 was probably the most atrocious incident in recent
Chrissy
history.
already has a retard.
Now we are coming up on 2028. We're coming up then on a presidential election, and the Democrats are saying we're not him. Your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I think this is, there's, I guess the term political scientists use for it is authoritarian backsliding, right? It is, and I might quibble with some of the definitions of that, but I think this is a process that predates the Bush administration and 9/11. I mean, you could look at a lot of things that were happening in the Reagan years, in terms of consolidating power and a lot of,
Or the Obama years.
or the Obama years when they passed the NDAA too.
Yeah,
and
getting us to 115.
I mean, I don't know. I think that you certainly would. I mean, Obama deported more people in his second term than Trump did in his first term. Right. I think so.
These people do not like Obama, guys. Obama deported more people than Trump. These people are not Democrats. They do not like Obama at all.
I mean, I don't know. I think that you certainly would. I mean, Obama deported more people in his second term than Trump did in his first term. Right. I think so. This has been the ICE might be more visible and more theatrical now, but it didn't start under this administration. It's very much a bipartisan.
I'm gonna be real clear. I'm not sharing shit from Canary Mission. I'm not sharing shit from Canary Mission. I don't trust a single fucking thing Canary Mission says. Canary Mission cherry picks shit out of context. If Canary Mission wants me to look at those videos, they can release the full fucking video. I'm not sharing anything from those people, and I recommend that you don't either. Fuck Canary Mission. Those people are fucking evil. They lie all the time. Their narrative is fucking bullshit. They are just as bad, if not worse, than the left. Fuck Canary Mission. Focus! W's to you, my dear. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership.
Partisan thing, and it's I don't know. I feel like I should have a good way to finish the sentence, but yeah. Fuck them all.
Well, and what changed?
No.
Well, what
old Sabi with another 5? Spoiling. You guys are spoiling me today. What an awesome W of a day. W's again to you, my friend. Thank you so much for the 5 channel memberships. Big support. Big support today. Old sub, the king, the legend.
What I think has changed the opinion about, I mean, one of you guys I know quoted that famous labor movement axiom that the boss is the best organizer. You know, Bovino certainly did his share of organizing, but if people had not responded, I mean, this is one of the things that good attorneys in Chicago told me over and over again.
Yeah, real.
Oh yeah, we're filing these cases and so forth.
It's about
we're
30
trying to
bucks
get
in
as
gas.
But if it wasn't
Maybe some food.
the mosaic of people filming, documenting, and supporting their neighbors, none of what the attorneys have done so far could come to pass.
If it really does pop off in Maine, though, I might just get an Airbnb and stay up there. Like, it's not like it's an hour and a half drive for me to get to Portland. It's a little bit less than that to get to Biddeford. So, like, if it really does pop off in Maine, I may just get an Airbnb up there. And we'll see. We're gonna have to play it by ear. But it's like really not a big deal for me to drive back and forth if I need to. It's an easy drive, actually.
That's obviously a long and totally imperfect road. In the meantime, a lot of people are getting hurt unless people are doing the neighborhood stuff.
I think it's important, you know, for people to hear that Isaac and I are anarchists and we believe these things on principle. And, you know, we have experience with, you know, different political movements over the years, but that's not true for everybody here. You know, it's when we say like the boss is the best organizer, the people of Minneapolis are not all necessarily inherently political radicals. This is something that they lived through, and the tactics that they've adopted with the horizontalism and the ecosystem of defense are things that we all came through because they worked, right?
Well, because there wasn't leadership from the people who were elected to be leaders.
Well, here's the deal: is that, you know, at one point we did have a centralized hotline. We did have a leadership to this kind of movement, but we found it to be too slow and too ineffective. You know, you got maybe 3 minutes from.
See, what do you say? We did have a leadership to this kind of movement, but we found it to be too slow and too ineffective. So they just got rid of it and made it a leaderless movement.
Have a centralized hotline. We did have a leadership to this kind of movement, but we found it to be too slow and too ineffective. You know, you got maybe 3 minutes.
If they relied on like the centralized anti-ICE reporting hotline, they couldn't get people to the ICE what they would call abduction points in order to actually cause problems. That is where the rapid response signal groups came in. The rapid response signal groups are decentralized organizing. It's leaderless organizing, and it makes them more flexible. And that's why they can show up anytime they spot ICE in the entire vicinity of Minneapolis. They can get people there within minutes of spotting ICE. It's not because of their anti-ICE hotline, although those are important because it leads you to the organizations and stuff like that. And all of those should be looked into. But even the anti-ICE hotline was found to be ineffective because it took them too long to get people to the actual location. That's what they're talking about.
For everybody here, you know, it's when we say like the boss is the best organizer, the people of Minneapolis are not all necessarily inherently political radicals. This is something that they lived through, and the tactics that they've adopted with the horizontalism and the ecosystem of defense are things that we all came through because they worked, right?
Well, because there wasn't leadership from the people who were elected to be leaders.
Well, here's the deal: is that, you know, at one point we did have a centralized hotline. We did have a leadership to this kind of movement, but we found it to be too slow and too ineffective. You know, you got maybe 3 minutes from when an abduction starts to when it's over. And unless you can get people actively living in that area out there in 3 minutes, you're probably going to miss it. So
I agree, Adam.
Our rapid response networks and our relay systems and our dispatch, everything all kind of works together in ways where we're not ordering people around. We're not telling people what to do. We're giving people the information about, hey, there are some mass kidnappers in your neighborhood, and you need to go out there and try to film them. And, you know, if enough of you show up, then maybe they'll just choose to go home. And that's something that we saw work. And it's something that can work in other places too.
And look, this indictment has pretty effectively taken me out of the game, but that hasn't hurt the rapid response movement one iota.
See?
People are still out in every neighborhood doing this. The last time I counted,
If one cog in the machine gets removed, they just replace it with another cog. One cog is not better than another cog. They may like this guy. They may appreciate some of the documentations this guy has done, but if this guy can't participate in their organizing anymore because of this legal case, remove the cog, place it aside. They're not throwing him away or anything. If he can come back, he will, but they can just as easily put a new cog in. It hasn't hurt them in any way. The arrests have not hurt them in any way.
Work in other places too.
and look, this indictment has pretty effectively taken me out of the game, but that hasn't hurt the rapid response movement one iota. People are still out in every neighborhood doing this. The last time I counted, there were upwards of 80 hyperlocal neighborhood chats. And that's just the ones in English, not even counting the ones in Somali or Spanish. So like this really is like a mass movement. I've been part of other things in my life that in the past that I've described as popular movements. I think incorrectly. This is the first thing I think I've ever been part of that was truly popular. Like everybody and their mom was doing it. Like, you know, every business on the South Side
and all
has
those moms
everybody.
were anarchists, right?
Yeah, yeah. They were all mask throwing, masked Antifa. Yeah.
I mean, you know, I would argue that all those moms are practicing a form of everyday anarchism because when I talk about that, I'm not talking about violence or chaos or fires or bombs. I'm talking about people organizing from the bottom up as opposed to the top down. That's all that word means. And it's all that it's ever meant. And I think, you know, the government's using it as kind of a political cuss word to tar us with. But I mean, you know, but
like here, those of you coming from Chicago know this happened in Haymarket, right? The anarchists were blamed.
Well, I got one more thing for you guys.
The namesake for anarchist books or Haymarket books.
We had a thing called Ice Out in Chicago, but we decided we need to be a little more specific.
Polish ice,
my man.
Passed out 5,000 of these at the Gay Pride Parade in Chicago before 1 million people watching us, cheering us on.
Fuck yeah.
And we did that with Organized Communities Against Deportations, which is mainly queer, undocumented bled. So there you go. Right?
Hell yeah.
So the people I was undercover with in Chicago when I was there a couple weeks ago passed out a ton of these signs at the Pride Parade, and it was all organized by the radical revolutionary queers that I was undercover with, because their true goal, guy, is they will accept nothing less than abolishing ICE, because abolishing ICE means abolishing the border. The border to the left represents capitalism. The borders delineate private property ownership. The left defines capitalism as private property ownership. They want to overthrow capitalism. Therefore, they need to get rid of the border, because the border is the manifestation of private property. Therefore, they need to abolish the protectors of the border, which is ICE. That is why these people will never be placated. These people will never be reasoned with. There is no head that the Trump administration can give them to calm down the anti-ICE organizing, because they are not going to stop until they get this. That is the goal. They will accept nothing less than that.
Guys we're talking about in terms of some of the people who are really leading this fight. So it's been a real pleasure.
You know, I don't know if we'll live to see all of our wildest dreams fulfilled, but I do believe we will live to see ICE abolished. This agency is a wild animal backed into a corner. That's why it's lashing out like this. They are not long for this world.
Real pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, Cal.
Guys, that is the end of the interview. We made it until the very end. Let me ask you guys in the chat. Let me just change the screen so we can see ourselves here. Let me ask you guys in the chat. One in the chat if you learned something new today that you didn't know before the stream. Two in the chat if you just spent 3 hours watching this stream and you didn't learn a thing. One in the chat if you learned something new today that you didn't know before the stream about the left, how they're organizing, how they function, all that stuff. Two in the chat if you didn't learn anything new today. Let me know. Let me know. You guys can see the chat right there on the screen. I'm not doing this. These are people in the chat answering. We got Rumble representing as well. Thank you, Rumble. Yeah, we all need to do some prepping. Yeah, totally. Misa can fuck you. Mizakan is our resident scholar. He already knows a lot of this stuff, so we have to excuse him. Okay, so it looks like we got a lot of people learning something new today. Really appreciate that, guys. Now, just so you know, if you are one of the 121 people who just got gifted a channel membership, we were going to be doing movie night in the supporter Discord at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I will be posting out a link to join the Discord shortly, so you're going to find that on the post tab in the community. Mac B, I see you're in the chat. Thank you. Tonight, Mac B is hosting movie night at 9 p.m. in the Discord. He is watching On Her Majesty's Secret Service, James Bond, July. So I want to encourage everyone to take advantage of your supporter perks. Get into the supporter Discord. Again, I will be posting the link out to the supporter Discord shortly. Give me like 10 minutes or so, but it'll be before 9 p.m. It will be on the post tab off of my YouTube page. I'll also post it out to the Substack for people there. I want to encourage everyone to go join MacB for movie night. He does them every Monday night at 9 p.m. Really appreciate that, MacB. You rock. Thank you to everyone. Very generous support today. We got a ton of super chats. I really appreciate it, guys. We got 121 new members of the channel. So appreciate everyone who's donating channel memberships. You guys make all this possible. Thank you for funding the work I do. I am anticipating right now heading up to Maine tomorrow. I will be coming back. I'm hoping to do a stream tomorrow at 5 p.m. I also have an interview scheduled with Larry Sharp tomorrow at 7 p.m. on his channel. I am planning on keeping that commitment unless something crazy happens and I just can't, which I will let you guys know. So pay attention to my Twitter feed. Follow me on X, Dr. Karlyn B, and you guys can get updates from there. But I am planning on going back to Maine right now. I'm also planning on coming back and doing the 5 p.m. stream, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone again who supported the channel today. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your night. And we'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.